Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well, I hope you can. Right, my stream is telling me it's having problems, and I don't know why. I'm hoping it's sorting itself out. Seems to say it's... I'm not really sure why it's... I'm not sure why it's been that way, but it might be the GIF might be playing with it. So let's see, shall we? I'm going to... Oh. Maybe we keep that really quiet. Yeah, let's keep that real quiet, okay? So let me have a look here what I've got. It might be a problem with the internet downstairs even, since I'm getting a flickering light at times. I feel there's been problems with the internet in the area. Right, for 1 second then, let me remove up. There we go. So let's see how it is. I think I have everything as it should be. Can you hear me? Yeah, they can hear me, that's great. Okay. Just need a couple of things. Yeah, I'm noticing that there might be issues with internet in this. Oh, that's really annoying. I don't know what to do about that one. What I might do... Oh, something fell out. Phone fell on the floor. Never mind. Alright, if you give me 1 second, I need to take something out plug-wise and readjust plugs. Hopefully. That could help. That might help. Whew. Hope so. How was the stream for everyone else? Because yeah, I'm getting like mixed signals on my side. Laggy, fuck. I honestly don't think that fucked. I don't think there's anything I can do about it. The internet's just kind of... Recently, the internet in the area has been really fucked, and it's really pissing me off. But I think it should be updated soon. But yeah, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with it. But yeah, sometimes it just starts to play up. I'm hoping it's going to fix itself. Oh, the misinfo. Yeah, okay, we'll get to that in a moment. I'm just going to make sure everything's... Okay, it keeps telling me it's dropping frames, but the kilobytes per second is good. How strange. I'm getting mixed messages. Anyway. Oh, that water in here. God damn. Let's see if we're... It keeps telling me it's dropping frames, that's really annoying. I actually don't know what to do about that, honestly. Sometimes it likes to play it like this, and I don't really know how to respond to it, if I'm honest. Oh, maybe it's that. Okay, it might be because it's playing. Oh, it might be my bad actually, because I think it was playing the stream in the background. Maybe that's fucking it. I'm hoping that will find its way to being better. I don't know if there's anything I can change on the settings that will make that better. I just want to check for everyone. How am I slightly better now? It's pauses a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. It's yeah. The stream. It's telling me the stream has really bad. I don't know what to do about it though. I don't know how I'm supposed to. Anyone got any fucking tips here? Because yeah, I don't know. I guess my internet recently has been kind of fucked. Seems to be like messing up all the time. Like I said, hopefully it'll be fixed soon. But I don't honestly know what I can do about it right now. Maybe change that like that. I wonder, if I go with that. I'm just going to make some slight differences and hope that does something. But yeah, I don't know why it's being so difficult right now, but I guess that's Internet's always a bit fucky around here, but it should be, hopefully in the coming weeks it'll be better. That's all I can say. If it's manageable, I'll do what I can with it, I guess. But it really does annoy me that I don't know if I can actually do anything. I don't know why it's so fucked up. Maybe Google, maybe Chrome is fucking with it. Don't know. The voice is okay, so the voices are right. Oh, maybe pause that as well. Right, I mean, I feel like I've done all I can on that regard. Hopefully this is... It's still gonna be poor, but I legitimately don't know what I can do to make it better. But I guess I'm gonna have to go with it, I suppose. What's the widget now? So it's still telling me it's poor. That's annoying. Yeah, I've gotten, on my side at least, it says it's just gotten very bad connection, but I have no idea why. Outside of the internet having some issues. I know this is the kind of thing that I have to like restart OBS to get working. What do we think, chat? Is it functioning enough, or is this gonna be a problem? Because it's telling me I'm dropping frames like quite a bit, and I keep getting red bar, so I don't actually know. And it's like, yeah, the kilobytes is fluctuating quite a bit, and I don't really know what I can do about that. It's just playing with me a bit. Oh wait, is the chat? Maybe the chat's frozen on my side as well. Let me have a look. I don't know. I'll try something for a second, and if it crashes and burns, it crashes and burns, I guess. Oh, it still doesn't like me, apparently. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Put my laptop downstairs, maybe. If it's working, it's working, I guess. I don't know, I'm just really annoyed that it's decided to do this to me. The one day I wanted to stream is that it's really playing up. I thought my laptop downstairs was shut down. I was just trying to figure out if I was doing messing with it, but yeah, I don't know. This for the time being is probably as good as it's going to get, so I guess I'll have to leave it. Let me just check what it says on here. If I close that as a pop-up. It says stream is healthy now, so it's telling me my stream is healthy. So I will have to take that as the best I'm going to get. I found this tolerable, but it's up to you. Okay. I'm going to just go with it, I suppose. Sorry, I've wasted a little bit of time trying to mess with that, but I get a bit finicky with it. But yeah, I don't know, I get really pissed off about the internet connection being like all over the place sometimes. I'm hoping when it gets updated it's fixed, but even outside of just like random stuff, recently I must be the wires or something, but they've been like randomly cutting out from time to time. It just pisses me off every time that happens. It's like, what the fuck? Alright, so Welcome, everyone. Oh, fuck, we've lost a couple, have we? My bad. Okay. Hello, everyone. So, let me go through what we're doing today on the stream. Shall I? Well, I thought about, maybe I'll lower that down a bit as well. Okay. So, today, hopefully, I should be talking about... Oh, fuck, I've just accidentally opened the browser. Wrong button. Okay, yeah, it's not receiving it. I don't know, it's telling me it's getting fucked again. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah, that's not... Yeah, I don't know. It's being difficult. Anyway. I will just go on, I suppose. This is hopefully the next time we stream it will be in a much better condition. But anyway. God, that really is bad. I don't know why it's doing this to me. It should be pretty strong, you'd think. It's like wire connected, but it's through a power plug, so that might be varying results. Anyway. I'll try to not let it bother me as much as I can. So I decided to move streaming here, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. There's still stuff I need to do because this channel, I haven't used it properly and it's not really set up. Yeah, like I'm still waiting on like monetization stuff, but I thought it'd be good to move it here so it just has a dedicated place. Usually I just unlist the streams in the prior place. I don't know if that's the greatest way. I usually throw it on the Patreon or whatever, but I think it's better if I would leave the stream somewhere that people can watch and have an archive and stuff like that, so people can see them when I'm not streaming, which is always a bit sporadic anyway. So today, after talking with some friends about it, I'm going to tell this into like the streaming channel, right? And today I'm going to cover the subject. It happened a little while ago, but I thought it would be an interesting one to look back at now. It's been over a year, I suppose, since it happened. A good thing I thought of doing with the streams here is having a bit more of a structure. Usually before I would just kind of like wing it, but here I'm gonna add a little bit more structure on stuff. In terms of, we're gonna talk about some of the threads I've done in the past. Like I've done a lot of threads on Twitter. Some of them fairly well, and some of them have some interesting stories behind them. And I'm gonna try and sort of archive them, I suppose, or trying to like walk through them and show people them and walk through stuff if they might not have heard the story before. So I thought that might be interesting. But there's also some little bits of context I think can always be interesting with this stuff. So the first one is about Studio Ghibli and Batman the Animated Series. And last year when I was making a Princess Mononoke video, I got like really stuck at some point. I don't know, I guess I was procrastinating. And I kind of thought, how do I put it? Well, actually, I don't know if I have it here. Do I have it here? Oh, I do have it here. You know, that's actually really useful. So, we have a book here, right? This is The Art of Princess Mononoke. And in the back of this book is a copy of the production diary, for the most part, of the production, basically. How's it going, Fox Model? So, yeah, in the back there... Fucking hell, that's really dodge. That's what's in there. That's where it is. And... I was reading it back probably about a year ago. And... I was going through it, and there's some interesting stories in there. And some of it has been sort of cut down for one reason or another. Which, you know, that is what it is. But one story they did keep in here is around Telecom, who is a subsidiary. It's like they're like a group within a animation company called Tokyo Movie Shinsha, which is pretty old, and some of their work goes back to the 70s. They did originally a lot of like outsourcing themselves, and they kind of kept doing outsourcing for a long time. They work with a lot of different studios. And Telecom was like the part of Tokyo Movie Shinsha. Originally it was created to be the movie division. So this was like in the mid-70s. So telecom is probably most well known back then as having people like Hideaki, not Hideaki, Hideo, not even Hideo. It's Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki, and a couple other people ended up working in telecom, or sort of side projects. There's a lot of little studios there, right? But during the movie period, so when he started making like films, because the telecom building, or I think it's in the main building, but the telecom staff, they effectively started on the first Lupin movie, and then became pretty infamous in the second one, Castle of Cagliostro. And in here, effectively, the head of telecom, who's friends with Miyazaki, they basically make a deal on Mononoke where they're like, shit's kind of fucked. Can you do more of it? That's what basically Miyazaki is saying. It's like, the schedule's fucked. We need more people. We need more in-betweeners. We need more colorists. We need more animators, really. And they make a deal with Telecom. Now, Telecom is also well known for working with Warner Brothers. To this day, they still work with Warner Brothers a fair bit here and there. And what they're probably well known for in those circles is they did a lot of like the DC animated cartoons in the 90s. They did a lot of those episodes. A good portion of them they outsourced, and some of the most famous ones they worked on. So during the period that Mononoke was being made, they had been commissioned to do, I think it was something like eight episodes of Batman. And they basically were telling them, like, we can't work on this while also doing that. So if we help you with this, then you need to come with us and help us out and work on Batman. So I'm reading this, and when I'm reading it, it's kind of, I remember hearing about this before, but there was a part of me where, like, I've probably been working on the project for too long, and I hear this like, oh, okay, so they're gonna have to work on this Batman episode, and in the back of my brain, I'm going back to like years, I'm thinking about Sakugaburo, and I swear people were saying like, yeah, didn't Ghibli work on one of these episodes? And I was thinking, what episode did they work on again? So instead of working and researching, doing whatever I was supposed to be writing a script or whatever for the Mononoke video, I decided to Google what episode of Batman did Ghibli work on, and I got nothing. I couldn't find anything. I kept looking. I was like, and I thought I was going crazy because I just read it in the book. They worked on an episode. They had to. Does nobody know what episode this is? Or like somebody must know it, but there's like not a post about it. I couldn't find anything, and I was going a little bit like crazy on that because I was like, surely some of like the Wikipedia or like one of the like fan wikis knows what episode they worked on, or like what episode it could be. And I just, maybe somebody does know, but I just couldn't find it. And then maybe I was typing the wrong words into Google, and it was already difficult because it's not going to pick up some of these words like telecom. It's not going to pick up. It doesn't work very well. So instead of doing work, I ended up just like sitting down, and I picked this book out. And in the back of this book, there are credits. These are credits for like the entirety of what did you say? It's like the entirety of the film credits here, including all the animators. So what I had to do is step one. All right, it's 97, I think, around here, 97, about then. So I'm looking through what episodes did Tokyo Movie Shinchara, as it's usually credited. What episodes, I have to go in the wiki and go, what episodes did they work on again during that time period? And I go through each of the episodes, and I basically have to then find the episode, because I don't think there was an animation, I don't think there was a list of the animators for them. So I literally had to go and find the episodes, and then I had to find rips of them, or I had them on DVD somewhere. So I had to pull them out, I pull out the episode, and I scan through it, and I go to the credits, and I pause it as soon as the animators come off, and I go and I cross-reference them with this. That's what I was doing. Which, maybe not the best way of spending my time when I'm supposed to be working, but I kind of I'd got on it now. It was like a thread now. I was like, no, I need to find this out now. I can't have the answer be, I don't know, and I won't find out. So I had to look at the name of all the animators, and I looked at the names on the screen. And you don't get all the names, obviously. Like, this is the problem here. It's like you get like 6 animators who are keys, you get 6 in-betweeners, and you get the animation director. So I go through it, and I go like, did you work at Ghibli? Did you work on this project? Did you work on this project? Did you work on this project? And I go through the in-betweeners, and I go through those, and I could go, any of them, any of them, any of them? And the other problem in here, because I thought at first, like, I've got them right, because it has a number, what number episode they worked in the diary here. And I look at that, but the problem is, it's production number, not airing number. So like when I looked at the number it was supposed to be, I'll go, well, that's not the episode. I got really confused. I was like, why is it says it's episode 40 or whatever, episode 39, 40. And I was like, but that's this episode, and they didn't work on that. So then I had to kind of figure out that through the Wikipedia mainly, or like through the fan wikis, that apparently there is a difference between the production number and the actual episode number, like the airing number. So like the production number is the episodes, I guess, the order they were made. And this is how I spent like a whole day. I spent a whole day. Well, yeah, it did turn into a video, but it wasn't originally going to be a video. So this was just me procrastinating at first. I just got like really into it. And I was just like really dedicated to like, no, I must find this out. So this is how it happened. This is how this thread happened before I get into the thread itself. Is I just got really, really like set on that. Yeah, Stephen Wiki. Like I literally had to do this because there was just I'm pretty sure that, to my recollection, I don't remember there being names actually on the wiki, so I just had to go find the episodes and find the names myself usually. I think maybe some of them might have, I don't know, I can't remember, it's a bit blurry wherever I found them, but I did have to like literally find the episodes, find the credits, check the credits, and I would just keep doing that. Some of them it was easier, I suppose, if like it's the animation director and you show, oh, that's not one of Ghibli's animation directors, whatever. So probably assume this episode's not theirs. But I did that several times, and at first I thought there was only like 1 episode, but I think in the production diary it does start to mention about 2. So I'm trying to figure out like what episodes is it, what episode is it, and like what's going on there. Which it gets a bit murky. But eventually, after doing this, so there was probably like 8 episodes, right, during this period. So I went through each of them and I was like, nope, 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 no. Oh, that one has some in-betweeners maybe? Oh, okay, they're probably just telecom in-betweeners who happen to work on Princess Mononoke. Never mind. And then you do that. And eventually I found one, I'm like, wait a minute. Every single name here works at Studio Ghibli. And I was like, I did it, I found. And then I was like, oh shit, that. But then I went on the next one and I was like, oh fuck, there's still more of them. So like it kind of went that way. I think I almost lost it too because it's World's Finest. World's Finest is technically 3 episodes, but it's also kind of like a special. So what ended up happening is I think in the first episode they don't work on any of them. So like I almost skipped the second and third, but then I think I came back to them and I was lucky enough to get that. But yeah, from there I like went through all the names and was like, okay, who are these people and like what do they do? And I was like really trying to like figure out like what's going on here. And I had to then rewatch the episodes and I was like looking through them like, does this look off? Is something different in this episode compared to episode 1? Because, you know, I'd watched like part 1 of World's Finest, which I know is just telecom, and you see it in the credits, right? And it's like, yeah, this one's pretty tight. It's not anything different about it. It's usually like the usual fare, pretty solid. But then you get the second episode too, and I'm like, oh yeah, things do look different in this episode. Everything looks a bit, I don't know if the word would be off, but maybe different, not as on model. And there's just like lots of little flourishes, and that's where it came into me being like, I having to like go through it and be like, oh, that's different. Oh, this part's kind of interesting. And again, here's my day burning through where I'm like, okay, well, I found the names, I found the episode, I'm looking through it, and I'm making note of all the stuff that's different about it. And I kept doing this, and eventually I'm like, well, I just wasted the entire day. And I think it was probably a Friday, and then maybe it was Saturday, and I was just like, well, fuck it then. I might as well take all this time I've spent. I literally spent too much time doing this now. I've got a sunk cost fallacy. And I'm like, I might as well turn it into like a thread or something, so at least I can be like, hey, this is a cool thing I found out about. I didn't even know if anyone was going to look at it, but it was just like I mean, I wasted this time anyway. I might as well do something with this information. And that is where we get onto the thread. So sorry, let me check how's everyone doing here. What is up, Stephen Nation? Anyway, yeah, and we talked a little bit about Lupin. And that kind of leads into Batman. Obviously, there's some overlap because of who works on those. Yeah, I thought some people might not know. Charlie, yeah, honestly, it was that Charlie Day situation because I remember talking to people about it and be like, "Where's the episode? Where's the episode? This episode, but it's not." And it's just like it's so hard to figure out because obviously the credits don't just say like, "This is the episode Studio Ghibli worked on," because they've basically been outsourced by TMS, who is already using Telecom, which is one of their subsidiaries, and Telecom has then went, you do it. So it's kind of like So it's like your free grades down, and the credits on the American side can't even spell people's names right. I'm gonna be honest here, folks. The credits in the American side, there's several names on them which they don't spell right or they spell weirdly, which also makes it a little bit more hard to figure out because in one of the episodes, like the director of fucking what how do they call it, the Burrowers, right? Arietti in the Burrowers, the director of that one, which is Yanabayashi, he was an in-betweener on one of these episodes. I'm pretty sure it's him. Like, I don't think there's anyone who has a name similar to him, but they spelled his name wrong. So the whole time I'm a bit like, is that actually him, or is it just a guy who's got a really close name to him? And I'm just like, I don't think, looking at like the in-betweeners of the time, I don't think there's anyone who has a name that's just really close but slightly different. They just spelled it wrong. So it becomes a whole thing. Like, my God. That's how it was, basically. I had to cut my hair recently, so sorry the chat's mentioning about it. Thank you, Sane, for the nice comment. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who like to sort of take information at face value in the community of these anime areas. Now, I can't necessarily, I would probably not try and shit talk people too much about it, not at least publicly, but because I'm pretty sure in the past when I was younger, several years back, maybe 5 years back or something, I might have made a couple of these mistakes too. Not some of the bigger ones, but usually like you'll hear something a lot of times in the community and eventually be like, oh, well, I guess that's just true, right? And then if you don't actually look into it like fully and you just take a news article or something as like gospel, then you are going to end up fucking up. I think one example I remember when I think I rewatched a video I made ages ago, and I was like, it was something about me saying, I think I said Macross 2 didn't do very well, and I was like, I don't think I actually had a source to verify that, so I literally looked it up while I was doing like a commentary on it or something, and I was like, no, that's bullshit, it actually did do well, it just wasn't very well liked. It wasn't like a commercial failure or anything. And I had to like write a retraction in the comments. I was like, wow, this is fucking sloppy. How did I end up fucking up that? It's probably because I wasn't sleeping during that time, because I was working a very lot. I was working, I was technically making videos and working at the same time on a deadline for a sponsor, so I probably wasn't sleeping very well. So it probably kind of slipped through the cracks a bit. But yeah, I digress. Anyway, yes. Looking back to it, yeah, like they were very dodge on spelling the Japanese names in the credits sometimes, and we'll probably get into that. So what I thought I would do is, now I've kind of gave the backstory of how this happened, I was going to show everyone the thread and I'll walk through it, and I might have actually made a couple errors in the first thread, so I thought it'd be interesting to show everyone the first thread I did, and I'll talk you through it and sort of go through that thread, because that thread ended up getting really popular, because, you got to think, from my perspective at the time, I was just like, oh, maybe like my tweets don't tend to get a lot of comments or like a lot of engagement. Usually like, maybe 20, 30 likes sometimes, something like that, like 20 to 100 max. So I wasn't expecting like the world when I put down this on like Twitter. I was just like, well, at least somebody could like it and I could talk to them about it, so like I don't feel crazy. I'm sorry, Foxmodder. That I think there's an issue with my internet. I spent the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the stream trying to do something about it, but I don't think it just doesn't seem to want to budge, and I don't know how to make it better, because my little internet box, the Ethernet box I have down here, it says free lights, so apparently everything's gold on that. But for whatever reason, OBS is really fucking me right now, and I don't know how to stop it. all I can really do is maybe go downstairs and shut down my laptop. It's on in sleep mode, but maybe it's like, I don't know what it's doing. Maybe it's interfering. Um, which I can have a look at real quick, just in case. But that's all I can do. I don't know. Like for some reason, I don't know if it's that I need to update or something. Okay. Well, I turned my laptop downstairs off, and I moved it away from the router. I didn't know if it was like fucking up something or other, but I we'll see if that helps. I don't know. My thing seems to be all over the place, frankly. It might be the settings. I haven't updated the settings, and maybe I need to update OBS. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get back to it. Sorry about that. I'm hoping that it sort of fixes itself, but I can't guarantee anything. I'm sorry. Um, Fred? Oh, sorry. Like a yeah, like a Fred. You know, of lots of different tweets or whatever. Yeah, I mean, if it is, unfortunately, my internet decided today it was going to be the worst ever, apparently, so not much I can do about it, I'm afraid. Oh, apparently it's green now. Oh, it's green? Well, on my side it says it's green now, so maybe it was my laptop fucking with me, even though it was on sleep mode. Brilliant. Fuck my laptop, Jesus Christ. Anyway, hopefully that helps. We'll see. For some reason, I'm now green, so I'm assuming it might have been maybe my laptop was doing that thing in sleep mode where it's still using the internet somehow, some stupid shit like that. But I think we're actually okay now. Maybe that did fix things. I'm getting green bars at least, which maybe that's a good thing. Okay, maybe I should have done that from the beginning. I didn't want to go downstairs though. Anyway, let's get back to it. So maybe things are okay now. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do now is hopefully this works. I'm gonna turn into boop tiny me window capture. Oh, did it change? Let me check the window capture for a second. Okay, there we go. So apologies, chat. I need to figure out maybe I can crop the window capture to make it easier on you. Let me check my settings on this because I actually don't usually do this. It might be in transform. Where's crop? Reset transformation, flip horizontal, fit to screen, order. I don't actually know how to do this one. Anyone remember what crop is in OBS? I haven't used this in so long. Is it cut? No, not that one, is it? Oh well, I guess you're stuck with this for now. I have no idea who animated Batman Ninja, I'm afraid. So basically, I made a thread here, and I'm afraid that if I play this, it might fuck up. I could give it a go. We'll see how it goes. Can people see? I should probably check it. Can people actually see this? Yeah, it's because I turned my laptop down. So I think actually we're okay. Yeah, people can see the website, right? Yeah, I was gonna try and delete half of this thing to make the chat. I think the chat's okay though. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm gonna go through this. I can't see chat for a moment, but I'm gonna play this and see if it plays. But it might play the little thing. But this is one of the clips I thought was a fun little clip from the thing which Ghibli animated on this episode. They are credited to do pretty much everything on this one. There are some interesting little bits here, but yeah, apparently this was a very good touchstone for this. I didn't actually think. I think I put this together. Thinking about this was probably done in a fugue state. Think about Charlie, right? Think about Charlie's like, that was me, right? And I'm in a fugue state, being like, I have to turn this into something, so it wasn't a waste of a weekend. So I'm just like slapping down on the type, and I'm shit type it, right? I'm bad at like checking myself and doing it. So I'm just like slapping down like blah 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 blah. I'm just spewing, I'm just yapping everything out, and I'm just like, all right, I've got to turn this into a twit thread somehow. Let's try. Yeah, I mean, Batman Ninja, I think, was a CGI project, so I think it's different production people. Oh, it's crop and pad in the filters, is it? There are filters? Oh, okay. Let me look. Filter effect. God, I've not even new. Oh, I see. Crop pad. Okay. Let me just what I'll do. Oh, okay. It's just gonna come through that way. Okay, fine. I was just gonna get rid of some of that so you could see better the chat. Like that, maybe. So now you've got. I'm kind of still the. Okay. There you go. That's the chat in a bit more of a clear state. So there you go. You're welcome. It's a bit of a compromised creature way of doing it, but I'll figure out something better in the future. Maybe we have to find like a gradient fill for these sort of situations. Anyway, that will probably do for now. Oh god, so that's so annoying. It really just was my laptop. My laptop downstairs was fucking up my internet apparently, because now I'm all green. So yeah, I guess my laptop was really messing with me. Typical. But yeah, I'm glad we're apparently better now. We're in the green for now, so let's see how that goes. What was I saying? Yeah, so let's have a look through the thread. I'm gonna walk through. I'll maybe read it out. Did you know Studio Ghibli animated a whole episode of an American cartoon? I'm already telling like maybe this is a bit of a clunky way of saying this, and not just any cartoon. It was Batman Superman crossover special, which is 3 episodes. But yeah, they did at least 1.5. Yeah, give or take 1.5 of the episodes. So more than an episode, really. I'm actually being kind of dishonest here. I'm sorry. This is actually misinformation. I said 1 episode instead 1.5. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So this all happened because Telecom Animation, I think I just explained this, but not only have they worked on countless American animations, but Miyazaki once worked there, like on this movie. And this is Tominaga, who's one of the higher ups, usually does the chase animation. Obviously, classic chase scene, one of the classics in Lupin. And this is another one that Telecom worked on. No Ghibli, just Telecom. This is from the original classic series. One of the standout episodes. I think this won an award or something. But like, this episode's fucking crazy. And there's some fun bits with this one because if I remember right, they put some cameos in here. Like there's a glove at one bit which is from Ash. Yeah, that's from Ash no Joe. The glove right there. But yeah, I think I said 10 episodes. So I think at this point they had done 10 episodes. But yeah, they did like some pretty fucking wacky cuts like this. I mean, obviously Telecom in some part is also known for working in Akira. But they didn't all work on Akira. So this is the technical part, right? Where like Telecom gets the credit for Akira, but I think like only a certain amount of members of Telecom could work on it at the time because the rest had to work on Nemo. So but a lot of the people at the top of Telecom did work on Akira. So the volumeric way of drawing in Akira can sometimes be seen in the way they do things, especially in the episode Two-Face. Two-Face Part 1, I think it is. That's a really good episode of Batman where they did the animation on. Anyway, however, at the time, Telecom was working on Princess Mononoke, making sure the film actually hit deadline, which I think I was just talking about earlier. They did so much work for Ghibli. They had to basically bribe Telecom to keep working on the project, offering them help with that workload. Is that just that might just be an image. Yeah, so Atsuka Tanaka, member of Telecom, works on a lot of Ghibli films. So then I go through the stuff. Oh, just hit my fucking microphone. Sorry about that. That might have been loud. I'm sorry. I think I was too close to my microphone. I might have to lower it a bit. It's hitting my fucking headphones. Yeah, so in here, this is from the back of here, the diary. So I have a couple notes here of the stuff that was translated into English. There was a meeting about May 97, after Mononoke's animation was complete. They'd be working on episode 40. Now, this was an episode, which is why I put it in quotation marks. This was production number 40, which they seem to say will be the last episode, ? Well, it turns out they were working on production number 40, or part 2 of World's Finest. Fucking pain in the ass to find that out. I think you can actually find that out. I can't remember when I realized this, because I think I might have had to do all the heavy lifting first before I figured out these were production numbers, because the production numbers were on the wiki, and I could have used them, but I think it was too late by the time I figured that out. Yes. So what it says here, we hire Mackie Pro to do about 150 frames worth of lift math. Okay, that's unrelated, so that's actually about the film. I think this next bit is it. The animators return from an extended break and begin prepping. So this is, all right, for context, I'm pretty sure this is after Princess Mononoke just finished. So after Princess Mononoke finished, I think the animators had a couple weeks off. So basically, right here, they're saying, like, the animators are coming back into the studio. A lot of the younger animators are coming in, and now they're going to have to work on Telecom's Superman. Technically, it was Batman. It was Batman and Superman, but it was a Batman series they were working on. But they don't even fucking know, right? Because, like, why would they? The supervising animator is Yoshio. Yoshio is one of the key animators at Ghibli. A meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, and then the rest is just stuff going on in the background. Around this time as well, Yamada's, the My Neighbor Yamada's, is about to go into production too. Now, here we're going to have a look at some of the credits. And I think I don't know if I worded this the best here, because I probably could have been clearer, but the thing about Twitter is that you have such a word limit, it becomes hard to sometimes actually tell the whole story. Yeah, so like things do definitely look different when they do in the original series. I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely a problem there. OBS Alt and the transform thing can be cropped of your camera. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Clayface episode is really good. So first the key here. I don't know if many people know this or not, so let me give you a bit of a rundown. So Batman was animated completely in Asia. Batman the Animated Series. There was not a single episode that was animated in America. By this point, they've given up on American animation. They've said, fuck you, union animators. You go to the bins, and everything is now done in Asia. That's what's happening by this point in time. So that's the same for pretty much any of the Warner Brothers cartoon stuff from like the late 80s onwards. Probably even before then, to be fair. I'm not sure when they started changing that rule. I think even, to be fair, if you go back a bit further to like MGM, I think they were even doing it in the 60s. But yeah, so every episode of Batman was done either in South Korea or in Japan. There's a lot of episodes that are done in Japan with different studios. Like the Telecom through TMS is one of the bigger ones. You also have Sunrise. Sunrise did 7 episodes, but we're not talking about them today. But yeah, we're going to have a look at the credits. And off the top of my head, I'm going to see if I can remember who these people are on the credits. They're credited under Tokyo Movie Shinsha. Yes, which is true. The company that Telecom works under, as Telecom is a subsidiary company. But the Telecom station is in the same building as TMS. So like the actual Telecom workforce is in the main building. But if you look through the supervisors, key animator, and in-betweeners. Now, technically, I think I got this. This is a bit of a fumble here. Supervisor, when Ghibli says supervisor, they mean animation director. So when I say supervisor here, I mean animation director, but the supervisor, the actual credited supervisor on these is actually someone who works at TMS, who works at Telecom. So that's a minor difference in how they use wording, where Ghibli likes to use supervisor to mean animation director, and they like to use supervisor to mean someone who checks over all the keys to make sure they're on model. Well, okay. All right, I'm kind of fucking that up there. Supervisor is a little bit more complex than that in terms of like the animation director does technically do that, but the supervisor is kind of like usually a step up in terms of like executive stuff. So, especially when it comes to like overseas productions, they may then look over all that corrections and then make the decisions from there about what's going to happen if there needs to be any retakes or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into the technically the American system. But yeah, key animators, animation director, and in-betweeners, they all worked on Princess Mononoke. So this is probably where maybe some people, I don't know, if I want to give credit to something we'll get into later about the controversy, they may have seen this wording and thought I was trying to pull a fast one. What I mean here is that all these people worked on, even the telecom people did work on Super, but all these people work at Ghibli. They're all salary animators. So if we go through this, Yamada, Suzuki, Tashima, David Encinas, who I'll get back to him later. Hana, was it Kikuchi? And was that Asushi Tanamura? They're all in here. They were all on Mononoke. Every single one of them. Encinas, he's French. So we'll get back to, again, we'll probably talk about him again later because he's a really interesting case. Head director, Yoshio. Again, Ghibli salary animator. And you'll see like the checker, someone from Telecom basically, I'm sure had to like check all their stuff and check if it was okay. And then the backgrounds. Now this is kind of interesting because if you look at the backgrounds, these people are all from Korea as well. So these people who do camera, so the people who composite all together, the people doing inks and paints, and the people doing the backgrounds are actually all from South Korea. But everyone animating it is in Japan. The people checking that animation, when that's done and it's sent off, they are from Japan. And then people from Telecom at the top here are top supervisors. It's a whole thing, right? The other credit, what episode is this one? Is that the same one? Yeah, all right, so this is the same episode. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember myself. So here are the key animators, right? And if you look at these key animators, I'll probably go for it a bit more in the next bit, but I don't know if I actually mentioned this. So this is something that's really interesting here. Atsuko Otani. So she doesn't just work at Ghibli. She is the supervising person of all young animators at Ghibli. So she's the person who literally, alongside Kondo, who, you know, maybe in a year's time is about to pass away, unfortunately, but alongside Kondo, both of them are the people who, like, when you have an in-betweener or when you have young staff, every week they have lessons with them to teach them how to animate better and sort of like to improve, and they'll do tests and checks, and they're basically teacher, they're sensei. They are sensei, and they bring those younger animators from the ground up to the level of the higher ones. That's their job. So Otani is not even just like, she's one of the older members at the studio at this point. She started working there in 85. Also, we have Shinohara. Shinohara also started working at Ghibli in 1985. So at this point, they've been working in the studio, both of them, for 12 years. Some of the younger ones here, you've got Yamamori and Sasaki. Interesting one too, we'll probably get to later. Inamura. Inamura he's kind of young, but he's also like a prodigy, because this fella eventually becomes the animation director on Howl's Moving Castle. So like there's a legacy to these animators. Like none of these are kind of like throwers. These people tend to stay in the studio or have quite a collective histories within it. So these aren't just randos. They are very like embedded in Ghibli. What was it? Worked into. Sorry, I can't read. I have to look back on the other one. Let me have a look. Yeah, like supervisor could be more accurate to what they're saying, because that's how they say it in Ghibli, but obviously in that means different things in like the American pipeline than it does in Japanese, and Japanese tend to, it tends to be localized as director a lot of the times, but yeah. Canadian animators and artists like Dave Cook who worked on it too, though. I think Scabara, to my understanding, they only did boards. I don't think you'll find, I mean, out of all the credits I've seen from Batman the Animated Series, I haven't seen a single American animator credited. I've seen one French animator, but for them to work on it, they would have to then be in Japan or Korea, because they would have to be working with the rest of the production. So unless these animators you're talking about literally went to Korea or an America, and they might have, they wouldn't be doing cuts on it. Unless they were doing like really exclusive cuts for like the intro or something. But anyway. So yeah, these are the people, you know, Eiji Yamamura too, that all these people were on Princess Mononoke, it's true. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. These ones are fairly young. But Inamura is technically in the industry for about a decade, so he's young at Ghibli, but he's also really, really fucking good. And if I remember right, I think Inamura is the one that Miyazaki once said is like, quote, like the perfect animator, like the perfect animator in terms of his fundamentals. Like he's so good. I think it's him. It was either him or the other director of animation director of Cow's Moving Castle. He had like really nice things to say, and if I remember right, Inamura even worked. He's still working in some part at Ghibli recently, because I'm pretty sure Inamura did a bunch of stuff on The Boy and the Heron, if I remember right, but I could be completely off there. It might have been the other animation director, but this is off the top of my head. Anyway, I'll keep going, and I'll keep looking through the thread, and we'll kind of go through as we go in. Although the show doesn't magically transform into a Ghibli series, it's still an American pipeline, it's still Paul Dini's story, and Telecom's Tamanaga boarded it, among others. So this is me showing that. So, you know, written by Steve Gerber, story by Paul Dini, etc. You know, that's how these pipelines work, right? And then we got storyboards. These people are all Telecom people. Tamanaga did the race scene in. He did the chase. Oh, my phone's going off. Don't worry, there's nothing in particular. There's an alarm. Tamanaga did the race. He did the chase in Lupin Castle of Cagliostro. He also directed a couple episodes of Batman, including the Toy Man in Superman. That episode's really good. Some good chases in that one. But yeah, all these people are like generally people who are in the studio. Right. And I say something like that. Yeah, there's fun cuts all over the episode. Flourishes of body language. Bruce's eat shit eyebrows and wink. I always thought this was quite fun.
Ready to sweep me off my feet?
Yeah, right here.
Be seeing you.
Yeah, that fucking dickhead. What a fucking cunt. My god. Yeah, Bruce is living up to his billionaire persona, I suppose. Oh, does it change? Oh, wait, were you seeing the stream? Are you seeing it now? Sorry, I had to read it, but like it was the chat was a bit small on the screen for it. It was hard for me to read. But maybe I just need to move everything down. Maybe I need to make it big when I look at the. How do I do that? I need to make the screen bigger for me. Damn, I don't know how. Yeah, he likes to play it up a bit. I wish I could make the preview screen in OBS a bit bigger, but it doesn't want to. So, fuck me, I guess. Oh well. I'll figure it out later. Yeah, there's some cute stuff there. I think there's like lots of little weird personality to this episode. Especially here, which I was like, this bit I thought was really fun because I think it's about... Where is it? Right there. Yeah, the hair rays. Instead of the hair, it's the thing, but it's the Ghibli hair rays, but with the baubles. Like the anger. And even just the way it's shaded, this is not usually how they work. The eyes are probably too big. I don't think it looks bad, to be fair, but this is probably what we would consider off-model. I think it's kind of an interesting off-model, though. It's like probably too heavily shaded for an average episode. A lot of like, there's a bit of volume to it too, but like a bit more kind of like, it's kind of like, I guess, cartoonic volume. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of just little bits like that. Well, this one's a little bit bad, but the eye's probably still too big. The chin there was probably too big on that, and then the eye there's like, yeah, a lot of this looks like some of it's corrected, but you can't tell how much. But yeah, it is. I think that's still a very fun cut, and yeah, they have lots of little character acting, doing little bits like this. That Batman's really off. Again, and I think in a fun way. But yeah, like these little cuts here, I think they're really fun. How they did that. I think there's lots of stuff like that. They have a very particular way of, like, quite a boxy way of drawing Batman, which I don't think is actually too bad, but it's different, let's say. Okay, so was it Yamasta? You know what? Thanks, thanks for that. Yeah, yeah. It was one of the two animation directors who got a lot of praise. It must have been Yamashita then, was it? Yeah, he was the person there. Like, I didn't remember. It's been like it's been almost a year since I made my video, so my brain is a little bit foggy on the major details there. It's probably in my source document, but it's a lot to look through. But yeah, Inamura did. Yeah, so I think Yamashita and Inamura both were on that. I think someone else was on it too who did a lot of work. But I can't remember their name now because I know somebody did like basically a third of it. Like Miyazaki doesn't tend to, he's a stick in the mud, right? So he doesn't tend to compliment a lot of animators. Like you'll get the occasional one where it's gonna be like Honda. He loves Honda. Yamashita, fucking, what's his face from the 80s? Canada. When he died, he got well. To be fair, I guess before he died, before he started working with me, he wrote a little article being like he thinks he's a really interesting animator. Yeah, I feel like even if they're off model, they're actually really interesting pieces of animation, and I think they add flourish and interest in the scene. So I'm kind of willing to be like, I don't really think it matters. I just think it looks interesting. For the most part, I think it's like, yeah, this is personality. That's what I want to see, right? Yeah, I think that's a really fun cut. And we'll see. Noticeably, I can tell that not always on model, which is what I was just saying, basically. And I said it's not as bad as the Evangelion episode. The Evangelion episode is quite apparent about how dodgy it is. It's probably not as animated either. I mean, some of the Evangelion episode also has a lot of cute little cuts, a lot of round faces and stuff. I think it's cute, but it is definitely noticeably off, and sometimes noticeably like really off. Within varying degrees. I think that Asuka especially is quite off. Likely because of checks and retake systems. If you look closely, it's not as tight as Telecom's other episodes, but not exactly in a bad way, which is what I was just saying. There's a part in Ghibli production diary where the production staff look through the storyboards and they go cold and realize the difficulty of hitting deadline when there's 2 giant explosion scenes and several action scenes left, all in 20 minutes. Now, here, I think I might have made a minor error here. I think this is because it was on the Japanese side, or I didn't quite get the context. They are going cold. They are struggling, but it's not because they're doing one episode. It's because they have now been told to do another episode on top. So it's explosions within this episode, but they are also doing half of the next episode, which was kind of thrown at them. I think originally they were only supposed to do one episode, but then I think they needed some help, and they did about half of the storyboards on part 3. So they ended up doing a lot more than they were expecting to do. And part 3 has a lot of callbacks to Nausicaa, which some of the older staff actually did work on, and even I think one of the Telecom members had actually worked on, I think, or had some remembrance to it. I don't know, did they work on that one? I think they worked on at least Castles in the Sky. I can't remember if they did Nausicaa. I think their friend worked on Nausicaa. I think it was Tamanaga would have been not involved in the production, but he was a friend with Canada, so obviously he's pretty close and was already probably kind of close to the production. But there are like lots of little hints to Ghibli, and I kind of wonder if Tomonaga was playing a prank on them, making them animate stuff that's like part of their lineage, I guess you could say. I don't know if I mentioned that one in this. I don't know if I think I went into detail on the second episode in the video. Anyway. I really do like this cut and the music. I think this is really fun, and I hope I don't copyright for the fucking music. That would be fucking terror. Oh well, I can't even animate. Well, I can't even fucking. This account doesn't even have monetization, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, I really love the dance here. I think that's so fun. Just like he's fucking having a time of his life there. He's really having a time. Like he's just fucking going about it. You know what, Foxmorder, thanks for coming, and I hope you have a nice evening or day or whatever it is. Kitaro Kosaka, did he... I don't think he did animation direction on Howl's Moving Castle, did he? He did it for Spirited Away. I don't know if he did it on Howl, because he He might have came in later. I can't really remember. I'm a bit blurry on that one because they had two at the beginning, but usually at some point they have a third one come in. Kitara definitely has done stuff on the prior movies though. I think in Mononoke he did some stuff. Kitara Kosaka has been all over though. He's done on Mononoke. Pretty sure he did on Spirited Away. He's usually heavily involved in the Ghibli productions. I'm pretty sure he did stuff even on Boy and the Heron too. And he did stuff on Ponyo, and I don't remember if he was in the Wind Rises or not. I haven't looked at the credits enough. Yeah, I mean, being really heavy on the on model stuff can be kind of like uninteresting. So I do think there's some fun in having a bit of play with it. Even some of the earlier Telecom episodes were not technically on model. They again sometimes looked a lot more like Akira than they did look like Batman. But I think that was part of their appeal. They got a bit tighter with it. I think the more they did it, they kind of got a bit more used to the style, and they would less sort of deviate. But they tended to still have some really strong cuts. So. I mean, you could probably say like the Clayface scene isn't particularly on model, but I don't think it can be on model because it's like a morphing scene. Is that what? Remy? How do I say that? Remy? A? How's it going? Yeah, I think you should have flexible. I think the Americans are a bit tighter on. I feel like Americans are really tight on character sheets, but I think they probably gave Telecom and Ghibli here, especially, well, I suppose Ghibli, because of Telecom, they got a bit more leeway than other places did. But, a lot of American studios tend to be quite tight on your models and how close they should be and how consistent they are. You probably see it even, I mean, Japan can be, depending on the production, but like most of the time they're a lot looser than Americans are. Yeah, I think off model can be quite fun and cool. That's what I would say. Because off model doesn't necessarily mean bad, especially when it's used properly. Anyway, let me have a look back where we were. Yeah, I think this is a lovely cut. Really love the dance. Really love how much he is just fucking going for it. And oh yeah, this part I thought this really reminded me of Castle in the Sky. There's definitely a couple people on this production, including the storyboarder. The storyboarder Tominaga worked on Castle in the Sky, but I thought this whole scene had a kind of Castle in the Sky vibe because I think they start bringing out the air machines and such. And I mean, it's pretty goofy too. I think the clip in itself did quite well because people were getting off on the how ridiculous it is that they just shot at his feet for like 10 minutes because kids cartoon and all that. Can't just fucking blow Bruce Wayne full of holes. We have to fucking knock him off the thing, then shoot around him again. But yeah, these are fun. I think that one reminds me specifically of Castle in the Sky, especially around here. I'd say like the falling and the sort of conveyor there. I think that's all quite that way. Kind of a nice cut there. Even like the movement there, it's punchy enough. Oh, yeah, I like that one. I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but I do like how he's got a really awkward face here. I think I said it reminded me of something they said during the production, which is don't go for the stereotypical option when you're doing sort of. I think they were talking about like the scene where they were doing labor in like it's not bathhouses, it was like the iron house or whatever. But they were saying like you shouldn't go for just like really boring like pained expressions. You should try and like mix up the response, like the sort of emotional response in a character, because it's not always going to be the kind of grunt face. There might be more nuance to how people would react, and that makes it more interesting. Like here, that's kind of, I think these are funny faces. I like that they're sort of a bit doofy when he's like reacting to the workout. Yeah, I think there's a lot of even though the deadline seems kind of tight, I think the stuff they did give in the end is quite fun, and it feels like there's a lot of like little flourishes where like usually when you're given a bit of, I mean, it was like I think the deadline's 2-3 months, 2.5 months maybe, so there's not really a lot of time to be making this considering how heavy it is. But they did pretty good, I'd say, all things considered. Like within I mean, we're talking like 20 minutes of animation, right? So there definitely was more than 6 people on this. I reckon. It wouldn't be surprised if there was like 20 people on it. And I believe later on I got some confirmation about that, but there was definitely a lot more than in the credits. But Warner Brother is infamously very bad at crediting people when it comes to the Japanese side. Before '97, Warner Brothers didn't even credit animators individually. So if a production was done in a different country, they would just say the name of the studio. So like for the most of the original run of Batman the Animated Series '92, it would just say animated by Sunrise, animated by Dusk, animated by Tokyo Movie Shinsha. Not even that, it was actually Telecom, but it would just say that and it'd be like, any particular people? It'd be like, no, fuck you. Which is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, who wants to animate? Well, to be fair, I think there's probably some animators who are like, I do not want to animate someone reloading a gun. That sounds like a nightmare. So let's just fucking make sure it has infinite bullets. Who gives a shit? But yeah, I liked that one. This clip here, I don't know if people know some people didn't know what I meant here, and maybe I need to give some context here. So when they did this, they specifically went out of their way to have both the side characters have a very particular wrestling fight. And I think this is the writers getting a little bit into their fetish gear. Bonsai too, interesting choice of words with the Japanese crew. Basically, Deanie and Tim, specifically Tim as well, both of them were pretty horny on main, I think would be the way to describe it. Especially, to be fair, I think it's both of them because it happens in both their episodes. But like, they were always like pushing the boundary of how under the surface the horniness could be in their cartoons. There are a lot of examples like always go viral on the internet of this, like metaphorical orgasms for certain scenes. I'm not even joking when I say that, by the way. There's like a scene in New Batman, I believe, where there's like the Rocket Girl, and she's like screaming into like Suicide Canyon, basically, she sounds like she's doing something, which it was not safe for work. Let's put it that way. And there's just little bits and pieces all over. This one is probably one of the more tame ones, but it's still, I thought it was funny to mention that they went this far. It's a cute little scene. I quite like the silly fight in the background while they're having a conversation. It adds a little bit more dynamics to it. Oh yeah, Ghibli were also apparently late. So yeah, they were late on their deadline. I guess by this time I also knew about the second episode. Because I think I looked through the credits and I kept looking through and I found out, oh wait, they didn't just do 1.5 episodes. Actually, there was another episode they worked on where they are completely in the credits because I think it was just the next block of them because I kept looking through. So that was also something interesting. I think also in the Japanese production diary, they do mention this too, that they came back for December and did another one. Oh yeah, and there's more of the fight there. Yeah, they have the knockout situation. I don't know. It's so silly. Anyway, where were we, everyone? Yeah, better late than never, as I would say, is probably a fair thing to say. Yeah, his sexual preferences. Bruce Timm is very obvious about what he is and is not into. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I put this out, and I think it was probably the end of the day. I think some things I didn't source exactly. There's some things I did, but I don't think I mentioned some things by name. Which maybe I should have, but I think I was just really tired. It was Sunday. I wanted to take the rest of the day off, and I didn't think anyone was going to look at the thing, so I didn't mention them at the time. I was probably going to mention, I think I do mention the diary, but I was probably going to link to the diary, because there is this whole section of the diary that's only in Japanese at this point, which I had already went through, because I would have been reading it for the Princess Mononoke video, so I had to like go through everything and like see if there's anything that was missed that I could bring back into the video, basically. Oh yeah, I mean, Terminator Zero is out now, isn't it? I probably should watch it at some point. I'm kind of curious. I know that's an IG production. I'm not like super invested in the Terminator universe, so like maybe if it comes up at a point, I might see it. But yeah, maybe I'll have a look. Yeah, Batman and Harley Quinn. So that's an interesting one as well, because that one I think was like an adult production. I think Batman and Harley Quinn. Oh, wait, is it Harley? Which is that the movie or is that the television show? Because there's like a Harley Quinn television show. I don't know who made that one. I know there is a movie which I think brought Bruce Timm back in. It's like it's direct to TV, not even direct. It's like direct to video kind of movie they did years after the fact. Um, I remember it was quite polarizing at the time because it is a bit more raunchy, and it like yeah, obviously is like it's very mask off about like Bruce Timm just fucking just going for it on that one. He's just like there's no one stopping him, right? He doesn't have to do it for kids no more. But there's some certain sequences where there's like implications that Nightwing and Harley Quinn like did stuff, and also they also mentioned the whole like article from the 50s about Robin and Batman being gay, which was an interesting reference point to make in the actual universe of Batman, bringing the real world referenced into the series, which was, yeah, interesting. Yeah, the movie. So, yeah, that was the direct to video one. Yeah, that one is interesting. It obviously doesn't have any of the limitations. And I think Bruce Timm's favor with people in the community has probably like lessened over the years. I know he got into like people were particularly bothered by how he handled the Killing Joke, which, to be honest, yeah, to be fair, I think it was just it was probably limited release because like all those animated Batman films are like direct to video. So if they got any showing in a theater, it'd be really tiny showings. They're not supposed to be like big things. Yeah, he does have a lot of like books of sexy drawings, so I don't really have an issue with that one. I think people were quite pissed off about the Killing Joke because he adds in one of his quirks, which is he really likes putting Batman and Batgirl together, which people will tend to be not that hot on because in the comic books, Batgirl and Dick Grayson or Nightwing, first Robin, they have a thing for a while. They're in a relationship. I think later they might not be in a relationship anymore, but that means technically Batman is like stealing his fucking Batman's surrogate son, his adopted son, stops dating Robin to date her. Batman's surrogate son is dating a girl who's his age, and then she breaks up with him to then go out with his dad. Which I don't know what kind of therapy you need after that one, but that would be an interesting experience. But yeah, people got not particularly happy about that. I mean, Killing Joke's kind of a little bit shit anyway. To us as a comic, like there's some interesting stuff in there, but when it became canon, it kind of lost any of its sort of flavor. It was pretty much shock jock, even in its period of time. Some interesting little bits in it, but like it probably does not adapt particularly well. Yeah, I mean, it might have had like a limited release. Some of them do, right? Yeah, because I think in the implication in the cartoon is like Batgirl has like a crush on Batman, which is like, okay, yeah, whatever, go for that, sure. But then like as it goes by, he like starts bringing it in more and more, and like in Batman Beyond, it's heavily implied they used to be going out for a long time, and she becomes like the new police commissioner, and like Bruce becomes a recluse senior citizen. Um, so yeah, there's that. Apparently, unsurprisingly, dating Bruce Wayne was not a particularly enriching experience for her, and she decided that it was probably not going anywhere. So she decided to break up with him. I don't know if he took it particularly well. And I don't imagine his son particularly took it well either. But yeah, I digress. I probably shouldn't get too stuck in the weeds with Bruce Timm. He's a goofy man. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I made the thread. I was talking about it. I was having a good time talking about it. And at first, I released a thread and I was like, wow, people like the thread. This is good. Let's talk to people about the thread. And then at a certain point, this is where the controversy comes in. I think I've talked about most of the things before we get into that. I wrote some notes here. I feel like at the time I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll talk about growing pains like another day. I think I was, yeah, I think right now everything is fine. I was looking at the response, it was going well. Yeah, he's a silly guy. Yeah, I think everything was going well. A lot of people were looking at the thread, and I was like talking to people about, being like, yeah, finally I can talk to someone about this stuff because I'd spent like the whole weekend looking into this and had no one to say it to really, who actually knew what I was talking about. Um, but yeah, I feel like I was probably like, oh, I'll do another thread tomorrow or something on that other episode, and I'll write that up. I can't be bothered to finish that now. I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is going well, and as things on the internet are, especially with Twitter, right? You know, as soon as something gets popular on Twitter, it doesn't, it doesn't stay nice for very long. Let's say that way. So I believe I wonder if I wrote this after. I think I might have wrote this before things went wrong. So like I think I wrote that story and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just finish up with this extra bit because I had some extra notes and I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. So Ghibli also worked on this one. This one is a bit harder to tell though. There's some interesting cuts on this one, but this one is a little bit more polished, I would say, and that has something to do with the production, which we'll probably get into later. And I mentioned again some of this other stuff here. Don't know why I didn't mention these earlier. Maybe it's later. I think I only mentioned a couple of these production diaries in the first bit, which maybe was another little error I might have made there. So this was months later, and the episode came out the following year. The deadlines in the American production system are before it airs all at once. So I think I'm trying to explain here that, you know, like American cartoons are made in bulk when they're aired, when they're done, opposed to like on a weekly basis, like as being made at the time. So there's like a deadline, and then they all just air when they're already finished by the time the deadline hits. So they're saying about a second production. I actually think I might be wrong here because I think the second production might be the second episode, but I can't remember what year this is. Telecoms. This is, I think, fairly early on, isn't it? The young staff report to work despite the holidays. 10/10. So this is October. So it might be 96, is it? This might be a bit earlier. But only one in-betweener artist appears. I guess everyone didn't get the message. I think this is probably 96, is it? Or is it after that point? I'm actually having a hard time remember. Telecom's Takeuchi visited to discuss making more in-between cleanup work. At first, he explains that the staff is busy with in-house productions, but agrees to help on the condition. Yeah, okay, so this is 96. So this is, I'm assuming October. Yeah, I think it's October 96, is it? Yeah, by the look of how they're doing it here. October 96. And they say 2 telecom productions. And I think the 2 would be one episode of World's Finest, and this is actually the second one. Oh, maybe I'm right, actually. Maybe I actually know what I'm talking about. Never mind. Shut up. Fucking me in the text is actually correct. So the 2 would be, yeah, Growing Pains and this. This is what they originally agreed to, I'd say. Because they ended up doing an extra half of an episode, which was not planned. And I think I'm talking here about telecom. So I've gone a bit about the history of telecom, which I was talking about earlier. You know, Miyazaki, Takahata, they used to work there for a bit. And yeah, you have people with telecom who did. This is a fucking baller. This is a baller fucking animation scene. I want an excuse to show people this one because this is from the lesser known Lupins, but it's probably the best chase scene I can think of from Lupin. I think it beats the one from Cagliostro, but it's so absurd. It's so long, and it goes places, and it goes for a bathhouse, which is, yeah, it has some moments in there. Yeah, and it goes through the women's bathhouse, and yeah, it gets very silly. That's a Tanaka cut there. Yeah, that's a great little bit there. Oh yeah, and they did some of the Rick and Morty. I know they did some of the shorts. I actually don't know. Originally, they were credited to do the anime, but I actually don't know who ended up working on it in the end because I didn't see it. But they did some of the shorts at least, and they were at least at some point credited to work on the anime. I'm not sure how much they did though. Yes, and it was also directed by Atsuko Tanaka, who very prolific member of Telecom, and also worked on a bunch of Ghibli projects, which I'm probably going to say here. Yeah, she's an interesting one. Like I said here, 13 projects Several of them uncredited. So she did 13 projects at Ghibli, and I know I wrote this before The Boy and the Heron, so now it's 14 because she worked on The Boy and the Heron. Yeah, that GSA is pretty cool. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, some people. I don't know if I'd made any shorts back then. Were shorts a thing back then? I probably just was too boomer to do it. If I made a short on the topic, I'd probably have to do it from scratch. It would probably do better if I just like literally, because right now the limit on shorts is still a minute. They said they're going to make it 3 minutes, but they haven't actually put it into place, which is annoying. So like if I was to make a short being like, hey, Ghibli did this, I don't think I could get all the information out in a minute, and I'd probably get a bunch of people giving me hate again, be like, liar, 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 which we'll get to in a second, because I think this is just before the moment when a bunch of people started accusing me of shit who don't know what they're talking about. Tanaka is a legend, and she's directed a couple episodes of Batman, including this one, which Growing Pains is probably one of the better ones she directed. Yeah, so she did animation cuts like this one from Howl. This is a good cut. I think I had some written about that. Pretty fun. She's done a lot of food cuts, but she's pretty versatile. That chase scene she worked on from Lupin, she was in the bathhouse. That was on her. She does some stuff here with the action. Like she does a lot of like crowd stuff. She's pretty good. She's pretty damn good. All right. I think I mentioned that. I don't know if she worked on this one or not though. But yeah, this episode this is somewhere early in the episode, but yeah, lots of cool stuff from Telecom on Batman. Yeah, there is like a little conversation here, if I remember right, where Bruce Timm and that they were like really impressed by that episode, which is why Telecom got so much. They got a lot of newer episodes later, but they also got to direct episodes because back in the early series, Americans still directed the show, but Japanese people animated them. But a little bit later, Telecom was basically just being like, okay, you can direct it, you can check the animation, and you can do the storyboards. So basically, they just gave the whole production to Telecom. It's like, we trust you. We don't need to. We'll focus on our storyboards, and you can just do the storyboards and direct it yourself. Which is for the time, I guess that was kind of wild because that was not what was supposed to be. Not really what was happening at the time with all the other studios. This one is quite some of the early cuts in this episode are quite Akira. You know, because you got the fucking motorcycle and stuff, which is probably Tominaga or something. But yeah, like there's a lot of cool little motorcycle little bits here. But like I said, this episode is definitely a lot more. I guess it's still a little bit like there's a personality to the animation, but it is not like as wildly different as the prior one. It's definitely a lot more consistent on the main characters and stuff. But they have some fun too with how they draw people. Again, this stuff I really like. I also like the way the lights hit and stuff. I think it's fun. So here we go. Where do I go? Only reason I figured out. Oh yeah. So I think this is it. So I'm actually forgetting this. So I think the reason I figured this out is I found Encina's name somewhere else. The only reason I figured out this episode involved Ghibli staff is from seeing an unusual face in the credits. The French in-betweener who was employed at Ghibli during the period, David Encinas. And I said, I bet David has some great stories to tell, which I think was me trying to set up that I think I had messaged him on LinkedIn. I found his LinkedIn and I was like, oh fuck, I should totally ask him about how it was. So this is another one of those rabbit holes I fell into where I was like, I'm literally, I know he speaks English. So I was like, fuck, I wonder if I could like have a little interview, like have a little chat with him and just ask him some questions. Because in the stuff I do, I don't tend to get to talk to too many people actually who have first-hand stuff. It's usually second-hand, right? And most of them don't speak English, so I'm a bit buggered. But David Seas does speak English. I was like, fuck, if I could just have a chat with him, I could probably find some interesting stuff out. But yeah, you can see. I mean, Batman. He looks quite similar to the last episode, to be fair. But it's probably a bit more consistent. I think Robin is especially. Yeah, I think it's a little bit tighter, but there's still. I think you can still tell it is like in the same lineage. No, actually, okay. Oh, I'm noticing my camera running out. How long have we been going for? Oh, we have been going for about an hour. Damn, it lasted longer last time. I have some extra batteries, so what I'm gonna do. All right, chat. You're gonna have to keep an eye on this, but When that dies, I'll switch the battery out. It might still go for a little bit, so I'm going to be lazy, and when my battery eventually does die, I'll switch them out, okay? Because we've got, I'm not really that important on the screen right now. Otsuka do that scene. Did Otsuka do that scene? I'm honestly not sure. He wasn't, which scene are we talking about? Sorry, I'm completely lost. Otsuka, what, the Fuma conspiracy? I mean, Otsuka might be on the scene, but I'm pretty sure Tanaka was on it too, so it's probably multiple people. I, for the life of me, don't remember though. I mean, I did hear in the comments of the video version of this thread. So like, eventually we'll get to that. But the video version of it, some of the comments told me that when they got to talk to Otsuka at like a convention, like in the late 90s, and he told them that he was currently working on the Batman Beyond movie, because the Batman Beyond movie was also outsourced. That entire movie was outsourced completely to Telecom, which is wild. But yeah, they just gave them a whole fucking movie, and was like, yeah, you'll figure it out. And like some of that is also apparently outsourced to other places, but they just like gave it because it's also, I think, the first full digital Batman movie production or something. So the backgrounds, the coloring, all that's like full digital, because these episodes are still cell. Even though they changed the style of the characters, these episodes are still on Cellulite. You can kind of tell. I thought at first they might have been digital, but no. The Fuma scene. I think there are multiple different animators on it, but I know that Tanaka is usually credited for the bath one. Like the women in the bath, like kicking the car. She's usually credited for that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Otsuka was somewhere on it as well. But it's like a minute of cuts, so. Right, anyway, I'll try and speed up and get through this thread before my battery dies. Yeah, like I think there's some fun little cuts in this one. I think I'm talking about the squash and stretch here. Like, so this episode's about Clayface. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I guess it kind of is a little bit. But you could probably tell this guy isn't normal with some of the weird shit that happens. Because I feel like most of this episode, again, I think it's less interesting to talk about because it's more consistent, but there are definitely some little fun bits. Like, I like this bit in particular where he just, like, boom, he just fucking squished it. He's like, what the fuck is this dude? Yeah, I think they hit this little cut. They have a little joke here where they just fall. Again, I thought this was very Castle of Cagliostro, the way they fell there. It's like the two people. Boy, that's very Cagliostro. I thought. I was like, well, not Cagliostro. Sorry, Cass and Sky, Laputa. But yeah, like you get lots of cool cuts here. This cut there was a little. Obviously, it's not as intense as the one in the old Telecom one, but there's lots of like little bits there. I think there's some nice little bits there, though. I think there's a little fast on they could probably went a bit far harder on that, but yeah, I think time-wise, they spend most of the time on these kind of cuts, where they do like a lot of these like spiraling effects, which are quite similar to stuff they did in Mononoke with like the tendrils, especially in the run. So I assumed that maybe Yoshio did some of that. Who I think was still the credited person. And it's the end where like it gets really wild. There's a lot of like that looks like the Nausicaa cut from '84. But yeah, you get lots of little cuts like this, and like the melding gets really fucking weird. This is and like that's a little bit off model, but kind of in a good way. But yeah, there's lots of like bits to here, especially towards the end. That it gets really crazy with the particular kind of cuts and like the perspective animation. And the water effect too. I'm pretty sure they play around with like there's lots of little lots of nice stuff. I think they've really kept it for the ending. I think they get a lot of like emotional just energy in the drawing too there. But yeah, they have a lot of fun with that. And this is what I'm saying about the mistranslations or like just the thing. They got Al Kagawa. That's not a person. So I don't know how. They're talking. I think I say here they're talking about Megumi Kagawa, who's also known as Ai-chan within the studio, not Al. So somehow they must have assumed. Maybe they put Ai down or something. But they maybe assumed that I was an L, and they ended up calling her Al Kagawa. Which I don't. I don't think there are many Japanese people called Al personally, but Yeah, you do see like little like how he's a bit squashy and scratchy. It kind of looks like he's when it comes to the fear, I'm pretty sure Otsuka had one. Wasn't that the case? If I remember talking about it in the video I made ages ago. He had a Fiat, didn't he? Because he used to go around the racetrack with it. And I think people and the studio saw the Fiat and decided it was probably a good reference point because they actually, I'm assuming he drove it to work, so they probably could look at it. But it's a good little car, and like I think Miyazaki too is a bit of a car. He's a bit of a car nut as well. He really likes, he's to be fair, he's a bit of a mecha guy, right, isn't he? Mechanical. He loves the mechanical stuff. He loves planes, cars, and trains, and tanks. He's really into all that. Yeah, I mean Otsuka. I mean, there's a reason he was kind of like a legendary animator. He does like his runs, and so did Miyazaki. But he's got some really particular cuts in his history. Right. So Al. So yeah, Al. I think the rest of these are correct. I think because you Atsuka Atani again, got Shinohara, and I think some of these people are the younger ones. Eiji Yamamori. And again, you got Inamura again. Soon to be character animation director Inamura. Makira Matsuda, I think, was also on Mononoke. Yeah, and I think in this one I kind of go through who was who. Um, yeah, Ai-chan, she worked. Yeah, so she was working from Nausicaa. I think she did the fire animation in Nausicaa. I don't know if she was credited properly though, but she's in the commentary at least. They talk about it. She's pretty damn good. But she's been working at Studio forever. So you got like a lot of veterans when you put it this way. I mean, there's Shinohara. That's a cut from Kagawa. I try to have a cut for each of them. I think at the time she'd been doing some stuff on Hal. I think the Hal was the last one she worked on. Otani. No, that's not Otani. Sorry, that was Shinohara. I think that was the last one she did. I think she retired after that, maybe. But again, she used to work at Toei, so she's a little bit older than some of the staff members. Yeah, no, Tani. Again, she was supervisor for a lot of stuff, but she did. I really loved the cut when she the cutting that off there, really sharp. Oh yeah, and I was gonna say here as well. It looks like they also spelled Yonabayashi's name wrong, because he's in the in betweens here. I swear they spelled it wrong. Yeah, Hiramasa, they called him Hiriaki for some reason. I was like, is there just a guy called Hiriaki who has the same second name? But I don't think there is. I think they might have just messed that one up. Maybe I'm wrong though, but I thought there was, I mean, it's vaguely sure that it was probably going to be him, because it's about the time he started working in the studio. He was in Princess Mononoke. He's in the credits for that, so like I was like, it's got to be him, surely. Because he became key animator in Spirited Away, I'm pretty sure. College dropout. Where was I then? Oh, I better check. Are we dead? Oh, I guess this battery's going to go for a while, so I guess we're not dead yet. Let's have a look here. Where were we at? Oh, okay. So I think that was the end. That was it. Yeah, chunk of these animators. So this is before everything turned to shit. Yeah, so I think I ended it there, and then basically,
This sequence actually looks very.
I think some of the people commenting here. This is after some people started accusing me. This one, small screen. They did a podcast and they asked one of the producers. So here's a problem, right? I've got American podcast people asking Americans who were not in Japan at the time what happened during these productions, who couldn't possibly know what was going on and the deals that were being struck because they weren't there. And I think the clip I sent was like literally being like, this happens all the time. Like, there's a part in the commentary for Batman Beyond, which was a telecom production, where they say, I'm pretty sure this scene has been outsourced to South Korea because it looks like one of their cuts more than it does like telecoms. And they didn't say anything to me, but like that's just my feeling from knowing the different studio styles so well, from doing it for so many years. So that's what I was basically saying. Is like, I don't think it matters what some American producer has to say about this because it's completely irrelevant to them. Like, they're going to be like, I have no idea about this. Well, yeah, no shit. You don't have any idea about who's outsourcing. That you gave it to a studio and they gave you the results, but who they outsource it to is not your business. They're probably not going to tell you. This is like not uncommon, you know. If you're fucking, you know, if you're not hitting deadline or if you are struggling, you will probably take some of that work and give it to someone else. It just happens. Anyway, so we've done these two threads. And yeah, you can instantly see people are already starting to say weird stuff to me, where I don't know if I actually quite I think at this point I knew. But these people trying to differentiate between the brand of Studio Ghibli and Ghibli staff. And some of them, you know, just saying like, oh, the Studio Ghibli people just didn't work on this. It's just telecom or TMS, they keep saying, because they don't know the difference. This started happening. You know, and I was just trying to talk about Batman. You know, I was just like, oh, you know, I used to watch Batman as a kid. I'm just trying to have a good time talking about Batman and animators, and I was. And then they had to just come in and say, you lied, because of course they do, because it's the internet, I guess. You know, funny thing you said about accidentally outsourcing to North Korea. The first episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender was animated in North Korea, and I don't think it was an accident. There are a couple animation studios in North Korea, so like, I believe the first episode of Avatar is actually credited to one of them. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't even know if they were trolls. I feel like the people I'm talking to, I don't know. I feel like they would. The people who were talking about this were not like. Oh, I think the camera's dead. All right, I'll go change the battery then. The people who were bringing this up were people who were like within. They were within the sphere of Twitter, sort of like Twitter anime. Not anime, like American animation Twitter, basically. Some of them were kind of like, yeah, sort of adjacent in the area. Some of them talk about some people, cartoon comic people. A lot of them were like, they weren't trolls. So I think that's what kind of, in some part, there's part of me that was being like, well, no, hey, you got this wrong. You know, you misunderstood something obviously I've said. But you know, I guess on the internet, like, you know, there's, you know, saying something like that someone's actually wrong in a casual tone is obviously, they're gonna fight you tooth and nail and tell you that, you know, actually I was right all along, even if I have no idea what I'm talking about. So yeah, people be that way. Let me see, is that better? Is that working now? Change the battery, but I just changed it. It's not liking that. Ugh. Surely that one's not dead. I charged them the other day. Yeah, North Korea. I'm pretty sure it's the first episode, but I haven't looked at that in a while. It might be the second. What the hell? Is this dead as well? One moment. Let's have a look. It just says change battery. What the hell? I just changed the battery pack and it's like, no. Surely that's got some juice in it. Come on. Okay, I'll just have to check my other battery. need to take. Maybe the thing is frozen on the screen, so if I just take this out and put it back in. Oh. You know what? It might have frozen because it is playing a game with me, it seems. If I pull this out for a second. Okay, no, it is working. I think my image is just frozen because I've taken the wire out and now it's working. I might have to just like reset things. One sec. I guess I do have battery. I might have to just like double click it and then switch it and then switch it back. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we're working again. It's just having a moment, that's all. Now we're cooking. Okay. Oh, maybe I need to. It's like there we go. Alrighty, what were we saying? Change battery ASMR for free. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people overconfidently correcting. I mean, I can have a look at it in a second, I suppose. I'm not going to get too particular on one person because it's whatever at this point. I think some of it's funny to me personally, but you know, I'll bring it in. Do I think of the Lost Ghibli movie? What's the last Miyazaki one? What are we talking about? Yeah, I think a lot of them. I mean, some of that may be. But all right, I'm a bit of a boomer when it came to Twitter. I didn't even know that most people put like a little thread icon. So some people might have just saw the first tweet. But like, if you're gonna fucking call someone out, Jesus Christ, you at least got to click on it and see if they said anything else, right? I digress. Some people, yeah, because you know, if it was just like random losers, it'd be one thing. But some of these people, like, I think I even knew of some of these people because they're like part of the animation things. I might have even followed one or two of them who were making the accusations against me. So I was a bit like, what the fuck? Because like I knew them from talking about like, you know, Warner Brothers animation and stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool channel to follow, right? And then suddenly it's like, you're fucking wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I literally just spent 2 fucking threads talking about how this went down. I didn't think this was a particularly hard thing to like justify considering. I was just trying to have a good time. But as you can see, like this is what happens when I guess a thread gets almost 2 million views. Or like 2 million. Like there was a lot of people looking at it. Like it got a lot of responses. A lot of the early comments were like relatively nice, and I was talking to them about Batman and stuff, and I was having a good time. And I think at a certain point I noticed stuff like this. This is when things went wrong, right? It's 23rd, so this is like, I guess it's a day after I posted, right? And I was a bit like, oh, what does this mean? I don't get what is this? Because I had no fucking clue what they were talking about. I was like, misinformation? From where? So like I had no idea. Oh, sorry, it said last. I thought you said lost. Sorry, my screen is too small there. I need to make it bigger. I like the last one. I think I made a video about it. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, a lot of them doubled down. A lot of them didn't even like respond to anything I said anyway. So you know. And when you're going to reply, you can actually see the rest of the thread. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I was just looking through because, like, a lot. And then I had things like this. I was like, I don't know what the fuck this person's talking about. I was so confused. No, a lot of the time I was like, well, actually, no, that's not true. At some point, it just becomes like a whole conversation of people where I was just like, because at first I was just talking to people, being like, oh yeah, good Fred and chat, and then there was just other people talking. I was like, what are you on about? Yeah, some people were asking questions, and it was fine. And even some people have been like, my bad, bro, sorry, I'm hearing so many people. Obviously, this is pretty obvious this happened. And I was like, what are you going to do? But like, you know, some conversations here were just like, on 23rd, I think it started normal, you know. People being like, Big O, and I was like, yeah, it's cool. They did like 7 episodes. Like, a lot of people. But then there are random people who start saying this sort of stuff where I was like, I was so confused. It's like a couple of former people from the different studio who joined Ghibli, who later joined Ghibli. I don't know what they're talking about here. People who used to work at a different studio who later joined Studio Ghibli would be people who worked at Studio Ghibli, in my personal opinion, but I don't think that's what they mean. But you know, it's random people. Like there's a lot of those comments there, and I had to like try and figure out like where the fuck is this coming from? And it was more than one, I suppose. But like, oh, okay. Sometimes it does that. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Today it doesn't want to do it. Sometimes it just doesn't. Oh, fucking hell. Sometimes it just doesn't show them. I really don't know why. Oh, there you go. Yeah, some randomer posted like not me, but someone who was a fan of me, which I thought this was a really weird chant for them. They're like going off about something being gross misinformation, but like they didn't just post my thread; they had to post someone else who enjoyed my thread, who happened to follow me, which I was a bit like, that's fucking weird. And yeah, a lot of people apparently saw it. And again, someone like I think I used to follow them, but yeah, just like people just being like, this is completely wrong. I mean, I guess this person who's not telecomist, I suppose. But I was just a bit like, what the fuck? Where the fuck is this coming from? Again, like people saying stuff like this. I was like, what the? I thought like, I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I was already on that fucking Charlie Sheen. Yeah, some of them. But there's like, at first a lot of these quote tweets were like really normal. And then like that happened. And then there's now like 1,000 people being like, yeah, nothing but it's Ghibli. Exactly. You get like, and I was just like, what the fuck happened? Why can't I just have a nice moment without people being this way? But former Ghibli animators. That doesn't even make sense, but okay. I mean, some people were nice, and then like some of these responses. And to be fair, I had some people come out who were actually animators being like, Blue, they work at Buta, Studio Buta. They do some good work there. And, a couple of people actually in the industry were like, this is ridiculous. I don't know where the fuck people are getting this idea from. I digress, huh? Hey, Lenny. Yeah, I guess technically, since the time being, it's not like Twitter's got any better. I guess like there's an expectation of who you're talking to, I suppose. Because when it is just trolls, like I couldn't give a fuck really. But like a lot of these people were just like regular users, so that's why I was a bit like, where are you getting this from? Who said this? And I was just like, at first I was like, for fuck's sake, I have to like, make another thread now or something about this because. I mean, I guess you couldn't, but I was also thinking like, well, I kind of run a channel on the basis that I do information and I source it properly. And I don't really like the fact that someone is going to like accuse me of lying when like I feel like I build my entire channel off the idea of like, I try very hard not to half-ass research. So now I have to be like, for fuck's sake. And I have to be like, I guess in for a penny, in for a pound. I think at this point it was like, well, I've written so much. I'm getting this feedback. I guess I'm going to have to turn this into a video now. Yeah, people love correcting people on Twitter, even though if they don't know what they're correcting. Because I remember seeing one post on one day when everything was normal, for the small period of time that can be on Twitter, right? I remember seeing one post that was, wait a minute, I should probably... Because again, some of these posts are like completely normal. Some people are like fine. Like people be, oh, I used to watch this as a kid. I like this thread. Like I like those responses. Fine. People be like, wow, I didn't know this. Like a lot of people like that. That was completely fine, right? And random shit posts. Some other people who were like, whoa, what the hell? And then other people like nice stuff like that. I'm like, that's fine. And a couple of these are just me like adding to the thread basically. And even I think a couple of them different languages. Where I was like, oh, that's cool. Seeing different people talk about it. Oh yeah, and that's the one. Someone who followed me, obviously, was like, oh, that's cool. I was even the Japanese one. I thought was pretty cool. This is someone who follows, I think, Japanese stuff on Twitter. They were like basically summarizing it for Japanese. And I was like, that's cool that it's gotten that, and did pretty right. And yeah, like a lot of this was relatively normal until like one person was like, actually they're lying, and this is misinformation. And there was a couple of them, and I think one of them, again, and you just get random people like this, like a day later, right? Because again, like some normal, like 23rd normal, and then suddenly something happens and it becomes a complete shit show. Oh, shout outs to Nobi as well. Nobi was animation director on Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, etc., etc. Obviously all over there. But they also came out and was like kind of strange how many people are parroting misinformation bit when if you check the credits of the episode, the names who worked on it are just from Studio Ghibli. Seems like arguing semantics at that point. Hey, study swords. Shout swords in the chat. But yeah, you had some of these normal. It was normal, and then it as per Twitter, right, things get completely messed up. And like, obviously, but um, but did I take my revenge and dox them? No, I didn't do that. No, I've kind of wanted to be done with it at that point. I think I was a bit like tired of people like telling me. Again, I was in Charlie Day mode, right? I was already like, I'd been putting the strings together. I'd been going through it word by word, right? And now a bunch of people are like telling me, you're not correct. And then part of me's like, am I not correct? Am I crazy? Am I the one out of touch? And there had to be this double experience of being like, well, fuck, what do I do? What am I showing? So I think what ended up happening is I ended up making a couple more threads, but some of them were actually more constructive when it came to this. One of them being like, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to have to get someone to translate the rest of the production diary. So then I could have the whole production diary in order and be like, this is what happened. Like, this is from the website. This is here. This is them talking about working on it. Here's every post about them working on it. It's kind of obvious they worked on it. This isn't like people at Telecom. Like, there's a couple people probably from Telecom, on the boards and stuff, but all these animators, they did it in the studio as part of a contract. It's kind of obvious if you looked into it for like 2 minutes, but yeah, I mean, I try and show the sources, and I probably could have been a bit clearer in some parts of that thread, but again, I was kind of running on burnout energy. But I think in the later ones, I kind of clarify some things. Like, it's in here, like some of it, but then part of the fun, I suppose, after that point was it took a little while because what happened during that period is I also got a response from Encinas. I hope that's how I say it because I've been saying it that way the whole time and he's never corrected me, and I'll be really embarrassed if I got it wrong. I probably do have it wrong, but he actually did respond to me and he said he'd seen some of my videos before and he'd like them, and he said he'd be willing to take some questions if I wanted to. And I basically wrote up some questions. I was just like, oh, I wonder what kind of questions I'd ask, and I brought some together, and then I think the whole controversy happened. It was like, oh fuck! So then I had to then start asking questions like, did you do this in Studio Ghibli? Do you work for Studio Ghibli when you did this? Did the people of the staff all work at Studio Ghibli? Like, I had to ask those kind of questions. I had to be like, things that you'd be like, well, duh, of course we do. But I had to do it for the sake of the audience. I had to like ask and be like, so how did this work? He's like, well, obviously I was in the Studio Ghibli, that is, and they gave me work, and then when we did it, which is like, yeah, that was really normal. Like, that happens all the time. Like, we work on other projects that aren't Ghibli. It just, like, because the way, I mean, maybe I can get it up right now because it's actually one of the extra threads. Oh, not that one. Yeah, gross. So, following up the thread, I kept it going. So I kept adding information to it as we were going. So we had that one. We looked through that one, and this is when I think the first it happened. Actually, no, it was a bit. Oh, okay. So this was a little bit. This is like a week later. This is when I got the production diary translated. So I decided to make a little thread, like bringing it out basically. And I was like, so this is what it is, right? So Ghibli.jp, they're still up to this day. They used to be on a different website, but each of the films, I don't think the newer ones had them, but up to a certain point, until maybe 2007, maybe, the Ghibli.jp, they had like a diary for each film production. So it covers about 3 years of time, so it's quite a long one. And like half of it is translated in the Art of Princess Mononoke. So I went through it like post by post. I was like, okay, so here's the first bit, right? So in October, that's 96. Like in the other post, this is where that begins. I sort of added a little context that, like, usually when they talk about helping in these industries, they might say do this, but they tend to just add up the amount you need to do. So it's like, a small gradation increase, like this one where it goes from 1 episode to 1.5 to, well, it becomes 2 episodes, and then it becomes 2.5 episodes, etc. And it becomes, oh, you got to do these big action scenes too. And yeah, after they finish the movie, they start working on what they call Superman with Yoshio. So that's they agree to the contract October. They start it in May, and then you get things like this. Whereas like they have an 8 hour meeting. Now, if you are doing if you're doing sort of like little bits and pieces on a production, so you're just giving a hand, right? You got like 2 animators on this. Why would you be having an 8-hour meeting with the staff and the people at Telecom? Like, that would be very, very precise if you have like 2 or 3 cuts. But yeah, I guess no one even got to this point anyway. Anyone who was like arguing with me never got to like the 3rd or 4th thread. So, you know, I don't think they even got to the end of the threads. I don't think any of them read them. Because I got some very interesting responses, definitely. I mean, I can't be bothered to get them off there, but from my recollection, I remember getting people. So the thing is, like, a lot of the people who would argue with me, like, they weren't just random. Like, there were people who were like comic artists, some of them like famous comic artists, famous, you know, like relatively well known in those communities, like within like doing Sonic comics, or some of them ran podcasts, or like were people in like the game industry. I think I mean, some of them would. Some people were just like, I don't know what they were on. I think some guy tried to argue with me, and I thought to me, I thought it was fucking hilarious in retrospect. But at the time, I was like so confused. Where he was like, if I go to Home Depot and I hire like 12 guys at Home Depot, and then they come to my house and they build me a bench, let's say, it was some random thing in the house, right, or like a porch or something. And these 12 guys in Home Depot, they're off the clock. In his hypothetical, they're off the clock. Did Home Depot build me my bench or my porch? And I'm just like, it's fucking absurd. These metaphors like these don't work when you try and move them to they're like debate bro shit, right? It's like, in this other situation, which is nothing like this current one, if this happened, did Home Depot really build my bench? It's like, well, a bunch of people who worked at Home Depot would have built your bench, but like, that's not what happened. They did it on the clock. So like, this would be like going, if I went to Home Depot and I hired a bunch of people at Home Depot to build me a porch, did Home Depot build my porch? You'd go, yeah, they did. They did it on the clock. They did it because you went to Home Depot and hired them. But this isn't rocket science, guy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, they could well be illiterate. I mean, I think they seem to write okay. I don't think there was any problems with their grammar. I just don't think they knew what they were talking about. Some of them, again, like I had some people who didn't understand what outsourcing was, because I remember I was talking to one person who's like, apparently they used to work at maybe like one of the like gaming sites, maybe like Joystick or like Rock Paper, something or other. Like they used to do that. They used to work there, and now they had a podcast on it. So it was like some guy who's like, I assume was supposed to be relatively normal or something. But they were arguing with me about outsourcing. And I was like, bro, do you not talk about the game industry? Like, do you not know how outsourcing works? Like, your profile picture is literally from like Minish Cap. You know, Minish Cap was outsourced by Capcom. It's like, no. That's misinformation. Nintendo made Minish Cap. It's like, no, Nintendo hired Capcom to make Minish Cap. Like, it's at the beginning of the thing, the Capcom logo comes up, but like, yeah, I digress, right? This is the kind of thing, yeah, trust me, I had a podcast. Even the people who are like, I guess it's the funny thing when like people accuse you of something, but they don't have any evidence. So they just go, no, I went in the credits and it said TMS. And it's like, well, I see that you have very deductive, astute reasoning powers. You're a real Sherlock hound, let's say. But yeah, you get all kinds of people like that, which are... It's interesting to see how people's mind change, because after a point, I think some of them started to realize that I was not lying, and it just becomes like a moving the goalpost thing, where it's like, well, it's still misleading because just because people at Ghibli, instead of like no one at Ghibli worked there, now a bunch of people did work at Ghibli. No one's saying Ghibli didn't work on it. I'm like, well, you were literally saying that 2 seconds ago, but now that I guess the evidence is in front of you, you can't deny it. Now that Ghibli did work on it, but it wasn't enough of Ghibli for it to be a Studio Ghibli production, which I never said it was. I just said they animated it, which is different, which... Another distinction that seems to be lost on some people, especially in the American space, is the difference between producing animation and animating, especially when it comes to outsourcing, right? But yeah, you got some real characters when it comes to that. And I mean, I noticed a couple deleted tweets now. It's been about a year's time, and I did notice that some people had the foresight to delete them, or maybe make it so the account can't be seen publicly, just in case it comes back to bite them, I suppose. But yeah, some of them are still hidden in these responses, I suppose. Because yeah, 8 hour meeting, and then I think here's me kind of going into the whole thing about the staff and be like, I don't think I actually mentioned it in the thread. I don't know if I knew at the time, but like, just having Atsuko Otani there, it's kind of a obvious sign that it was done in house because she's literally the person who trained the younger staff. So like, what the fuck would she be doing at Telecom? Like, I don't think she's ever even worked at Telecom. I think Shinohara had worked at Telecom when Miyazaki did back in like 1980, like 17 years ago. But I don't think she's worked there since. In any like meaningful capacity outside of like some of these kind of like outsourcing situations. But yeah, outside of that, being like the person who produces, teaches animation staff at things. But some of the response I was getting, I think at the time, was stuff like people like, "Now these are just staff from Telecom." It's like, bro, she literally teaches Ghibli staff. You cannot be telling me that she works at Telecom. Like, are you you fucking high? Oh my god. Yeah, I can't believe Home Depot built the Batman episode. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, if Bezos doesn't come to your door and deliver you a package, is it really an Amazon delivery? Is it really a Prime delivery if the guy himself doesn't order it, doesn't like give it to you himself? Am I really getting my money's worth? If if Bezos doesn't appear in every Prime television show, is it really a Prime television show? How would I know if the CEO isn't there, standing in front of me? How could it possibly be a Ghibli animated episode if Miyazaki himself didn't come down from the heavens and draw all himself, like I assume it happens at Studio Ghibli, because I have no perception. But yeah. Now I'm getting silly. Yeah, so then I got someone who works with Full Frontal. They were nice enough to give me their translator to just sort of give us some loose translations on basically the rest of the booklet, basically. So without much time for celebrating, so this is after Princess Mononoke has probably went gold. They have to continue working on Superman. This was a day after the wrap up, of Princess Mononoke, basically. June 28th, we received a copy of the last episode's Conte storyboard for the American episode part 3. So this is when they were given an extra episode when they weren't supposed to. Ghibli was supposed to animate half of it, but I turned white when I saw the contents. It's because it was a very action-heavy episode, basically, which is what I was referring to, I think, last time. Though I don't know if I understood at the time that like they also did part 3 then. So on top of part 2, towards the end, Telecom... Oh, okay, I just explained that. Yes, they did a couple of Nausicaa homages too, with the explosions and stuff and some of the vehicles, I guess. June 1st, starting to meet the animation staff of Superman's last episode. Of course, episode production number 40 is still ongoing. So they're pretty late right now. So they're working on 2 episodes at the same time and they're still not finished with them. Yeah, I think I was just describing some little details there. Between the two, July 2nd, 2 animators went to a meeting on Superman. Heard they walked 5 kilometers and called an ambulance. It's getting on my nerves. This part is so unhinged. I love this like little piece of gold. I wish I had spent more time talking about this because I don't really, but like this may deserve its own tweet because I just think about that situation where I'm just like, how did that happen? Because I looking at the distance between the two, I think what might have happened is these Ghibli staff literally tried to walk from Studio Ghibli all the way to Telecom's office, and then they collapsed and called an ambulance. And I'm just like, are these boys like so overworked that they can't think straight? Where I'm like, why didn't you take the bus, or the train or something? This is Japan. You're in Tokyo. How did this happen? How did you do this? How did you get into a situation where you walked 5 kilometers, collapsed and called an ambulance to get the rest of the way? Like I don't blame the guy on the board being like, what the fuck am I dealing with right now? Like, who does this? I'm lost for words on it, frankly. I to this day I still, because I remember when I looked through this in Japanese, I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? And this is the translating. I still don't really understand how something like this happens. And I think I mentioned here that that TMS is 13 kilometers from Ghibli. So like, I don't. Were they trying to walk the whole way? Did they not realize how far it was? Like, so far. It's taking ages. July 5th. Today is supposed to be episode 40 of Superman's last Genga animation deadline, but it's not finished. So they're already over deadline. July 7th. Despite not hitting the deadline of the animation, there are still 17 cuts for Superman. July 11th. Animation director for episode production 40 has finished the corrections. So they're about a week late. You know, I guess it's better than nothing, right? Yeah. There's been a lot of outsourcing to different studios for Batman over the years. I mean, a lot of those TV animated movies for Batman, or the direct-to-video ones, are like, they vary inconsistent in quality. Because there's some Batman animated movies that are like really good in terms, but they're usually some of the new, like the older ones. Like I really like Mask of Phantasm, Batman Beyond, The Return of Joker. I believe the Freeze one is pretty cool looking as well. I think that was worked in South Korea. Those are the three animated Batman movies I know quite well. I've seen some of the later ones, but a lot of them are like very. I guess the nicest thing I could say about them is they're boring, which in animation quality, I don't know. So the quality of them as a movie tends to like vary greatly, but a lot of them, the animation and boarding is very boring, and I think it has a lot of them. I think a lot of the problem is that it's like American storyboards that they're like really like stuck on. So they can't really do that. They seem to be like kind of stuck down. They can't do that much interesting. I don't recall many Batman movies after that point that were particularly like, oh, okay, what are they cooking up here? Because everyone I can think of after that point, I'm like, even the ones that people generally like, I'm like, well, they're not very impressive animation wise. I can't think of it. Like, Under the Red Hood, I think, was a very boring looking animation to me. I did not think that was an impressively animated. I guess some of the choreography is okay, but I think in terms of its animation, it seems pretty stiff to me. But it's been a while since I've seen it. I thought it was pretty like, not particularly very interesting in its direction or style. The choreography is fine, I guess, but another American animated directed TV thing or video thing, I don't know. Doesn't do much for me. I haven't seen Ninja. I mean, some people tell me they like Ninja. I look at it and go, I don't think I'll like this, but, you know, maybe one day I'll see it. Anyway, where was I before I'm getting distracted? I'll finish off this bit of the thread. So yeah, they're 7 days late, but, you know, it could be worse. At least they're hitting broadcast. So this is, I think I said, this is the last time they mentioned the world's finest in the diary, likely because the whole production side would have wrapped up by the end of July, August. They might have kept working until they finished the other episode half. Probably the rest of July they would have spent probably doing that. But yeah, usually August is off for people at Ghibli, so they usually aren't in the studio. But I guess if they have a deadline, they'll probably still stay. Anyway, there's a bit more which I'll add here is that in October they start talking about Batman again, with Genga. That needs to be finished on the 13th. So at some point, I guess in September, they probably started again. They didn't really mention it, but we'll probably get into it later. But this time, they had people in the studio from Telecom who were like the supervisor, the animation supervisor stayed in the studio, basically. So they were there to like firsthand keep an eye on everything. Probably because, again, like they had about, at the most, a month or two, depending if they worked through August or not, or how much August they might have worked, to finish, it seems to finish this extra episode, which is Growing Pains. I think this is me just summarizing up who the production diary is. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bit of a hellish job, to be honest. And that's probably when I'd already finished a work cut by this point. So yeah, I guess it'd been a week. Not bad progress, honestly. I think in about a week and a bit, maybe 2 weeks, I'd put together a video. I was just waiting on little bits and pieces. Like I was waiting on this, and I was waiting on response from the animator themselves. They hadn't seen this, but I think most of the responses by this point were not really talking about it. These people didn't get this far, I don't think. So there's that. Yeah, I know there's a Batman 66 movie. I don't know if it's a particularly. It sounds like a film that would be fun to watch. I don't know if it's a particularly well animated movie. It seems like the premise is fun. Like I like the idea of the premise. You know, that I'll bring back the old cast, do like a classic episode. Like yeah, I think that's fun. But yeah, like a lot of those direct to video Batman stuff is very like paint by the numbers. There is. I should give credit here because I think I talk about this another time. There is the other stuff done by some of the Japanese studios. So you've got like I think it's Batman Gotham Knight, which that's about 5 different shorts by different animation studios. Those are pretty good. They vary in quality a bit, but they each have their own style, and some of the shorts are quite interesting. There's a Madhouse one. There's one by 4C. I think there's a couple by 4C. And they each have like a kind of distinct style, and like they do mess around a bit. It's basically Animatrix but with Batman. Those ones are fun. I thought that was fine. There's I know Telecom did some other stuff. I know Telecom worked on one of the Green Lantern movies, and I've seen that, and that's pretty solid. 4C did a couple DC things over the years, but most of those are pretty boring looking. Like the animation isn't terrible, but again, it feels like the boards are really stiff again. But I think that's just the case with a lot of these like direct to DVD animations are like animated probably in like South Korea or whatever, and it's just like stick to the boards and then you finish it and it's like, oh okay. They don't have a lot of flair to them. They're usually just like competent. I did not check out the Suicide Squad anime because that is not my kind of thing. Looking at it, it looks fine. I've heard from people that's better than you'd expect. I probably won't watch it because I'm not that invested in Suicide. I'm not invested in Suicide Squad in any way. So like it's probably not for me, but I imagine some people probably like it. It looks fine, and the animation quality is probably pretty solid. It's probably better than most of those direct-to-DVD things. I mean, I've seen some of the action scenes; they look good. Though I don't know if it keeps that consistency throughout the whole thing. But it's different. I'll give it that much. A lot of these animations they make are like usually, like I said, they're very paint by the numbers. Oh, I guess there's that new show that came out, the one that Warner Bros. Wouldn't even release, which is the like Batman. Is it like what's it called, like Caped Crusader or something? It's on Amazon now, I think. I saw some trailers of it and I thought it looked really boring. I'm sorry, I was like, I guess like as far as boring Batman shows go, I was like, oh okay, well it's got a bit of style, but it looks like a very safe animated show. It doesn't really give me the vibe that like Batman the Animated Series did, but maybe that's just the trailer. So maybe the episodes are actually better. But I just looked at the color palettes and like the designs. It's like it's vaguely like the Bruce Timm stuff, and the backgrounds are like it's like a little bit gothic, I guess, but it didn't look that interesting to me. What on a Suicide Squad? How many frames was drawn in Suicide? I think it was done by Studio Wick, right? So I assume like the main keys are done there, but then probably like the in betweens and stuff, probably South Korea or something. As these pipelines go for it'd be the Philippines, South Korea, somewhere in Asia. We'll probably finish the episode, and probably Wick will probably be doing like the main keys or something. Cape Crusader, yeah. So decent bit of a shadow of the Batman. Yeah. It ain't impressing me much. I mean, sure, it's probably fine, but like, I don't know. I feel like I could be spending my time watching something more interesting. I'm not like I spent a lot of my youth watching like a lot of superhero stuff, so like I've kind of seen all in some ways, which is not a bad thing, I suppose. But like I usually don't spend that much time on it these days. I'm probably a little bit like burnt out on it. But it's outside of the stuff that I'm like particularly interested in. So like I wouldn't go out my way. I didn't even finish. I was actually quite liking that Superman show. They had like the Adventures of Superman and Lois, but the animated one. I watched a bit of season two. I liked season one quite a bit. I saw a couple of season two, and it wasn't really hitting for me. It's the same, but I should probably give it another go. I probably wasn't. I only got like 3 episodes in. Wasn't actually OL. That's drawn like frames for. See, what for Isekai? Hmm. Okay. Anyway, I'm getting a little distracted here. So yeah, I think by this point, anyone who was like disagreeing with me probably didn't get this far. I don't think anyone's like fucking arguing in the comments about any of this at this point. I think they've like forgotten about it by now, being smug that they were right or something. But then I got all right. So I guess this is a nice thing that came out of this. I probably wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for this whole shit show. I actually got to talk to David, and in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done it this way. I learned a bit about how you should do an interview on Twitter, or how you should present an interview on Twitter. I think I made it in such a way which it's really a bit awkward to read. So what I'm going to do is I think I actually did make a document for it. So, oh, okay, that's probably spam, I'm guessing. Oh, it's just on roll. Did I write this? Did I write in here? Oh, did I not? Yeah, I made like a G doc, but I don't know if I've. It looks like I haven't shared it here, which is annoying. I don't know where it is. So I guess I'll have to go through this then. Never mind. I can't remember where I put the G doc. So yeah, I got to interview them and I asked some questions. I should have probably done a thing where I should have screen grabbed the text of the answer, and I should have just left my question as the writing, and I should have screen grabbed the answer. So it done that way. I think that would have been a better way of doing it. Do you remember how much DC animation was assigned to Ghibli? He says, I have quite blurry memories about the production. I remember that we were assistant animators on 3 episodes. I'd always assumed that the animators worked on World's Finest Part 2 and 3, which seems to be correct in what I'd found. But they're not credited on the last one, though. What I recall, though, is Tomisawa-san was in Ghibli directly during Growing Pains. So that's Tomisawa-san, again, production supervisor at Telecom. He came into the studio to check over the 3rd episode they did. 3 episodes, there were only... This is me, I guess, asking another question. The 3 episodes only credit 6 animators and 6 assistant animators for each episode. That sounds very low. Were there more staff involved? Yes, I think there were more involved, definitely. And then I think I was asking, this is the question I had to ask for Twitter. Just to confirm, the work on World's Finest was through your Ghibli contract opposed to a freelance position at Telecom. Yes, exactly. The employees worked on that, maybe some freelancers. Some credited Ghibli animators may have also been freelance at the time, but I was not sure. So that was the I guess that was the end of the saga, because I think when I got that, I don't think I heard from anyone else after that point. I think people had stopped caring by a couple of weeks later. They moved on to someone else to like try and be annoyed at. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a little bit of X-Men '97. That looks okay. Some of the trailers, it's like, but it's all right. I thought it looked French, but apparently it was done by one of the more high-profile Korean studios who were pretty good. So I think they also did that Superman show. My Adventures with Superman is the one I'm thinking of, yeah. As Supergirl in the 2nd season, yeah. Yeah, I should probably check out the rest of it and see how I feel about it. I mean, it's all out now, I think, but yeah. I liked season 1 enough. I thought it was good. Good fun. But yeah, that was kind of the, I guess, the killing shot of what, this is the whole reason. This is the whole reason I think I got that far. But, I also wanted to ask some questions anyway. I was kind of interested about the this stuff. Because I remember somebody quote tweeted that was like, don't hear any of them now. Don't hear anyone else now accusing them. Don't hear anyone fucking. No one's deleting their posts now, are they? Maybe they should. I need my water. Got any left? Got a little bit. Better speed this up before my camera dies again. We've been going for a while now. But, you know, I think this is close to the end of it. Yeah, I think I was talking there. Just to confirm. So, I think I was mentioning here I brought up some tidbits here. I think I maybe went a bit too hard on some of the tidbits, but, you know, I was probably being a bit overcompensating. So basically, this book, Studio Ghibli, An Industrial History, showed that in the late 90s, a majority of the Ghibli animators were in-house. So I think that was just in contrast to him saying about there's some freelancers. There might be one or two. Sometimes they bring in a couple who are like more like alumni of the studio. Like I don't know if Atsuka Tanaka is technically she works at Telecom, so I'm assuming she has like a part-time contract or some kind of situation where that works out. But she's not technically staff at like Ghibli, but there might be a couple of other freelancers here and there. Usually when they're desperate, they bring a couple in. Like there's a story in Princess Mononoke where they had to bring the last time they brought Canada in for about 7 cuts or something, where they had to like be like, hey, would you do this? Because he kind of like left in some capacity. Allegedly, I'd heard. Again, I don't have any confirmation for this, but apparently when Maida and Miyazaki had a fight in '92 on Porco Rosso, and I've heard that Canada and Maida were quite good friends. So I think at that point he was kind of like, fuck this. Though they had a bit of a tumultuous relationship, Canada and Miyazaki, anyway. But I can't say too much about that. That's yeah, not public information. But yeah, Miyazaki's just difficult to work with. Yeah, I think I was asking about Growing Pains because I didn't really know what the situation with Growing Pains was at the time. I was really curious because, again, they're not particularly credited well in the I mean, I think they're all credited in the animation credits, but like it's not particularly very clear what was happening. So it was one, I think, when Tomizawa-san came to Ghibli during the layout and animation steps, and yes, it was a full Ghibli animation to my memory. So yeah, they did 2.5 episodes at Batman, basically. Was it a struggle to adapt the different styles of American animation for the animation crew? I don't think the lip sync was an issue, as Telecom worked for a lot of Western productions for many years. There were Telecom staff helping Ghibli during the... this is me asking. So I'd asked if they had any Telecom staff, and he said, a good thing about the Japanese system is that you have animation directors checking all the layouts first and then correcting them himself when necessary. So the animators who draw both layouts and animation, meaning characters, fix them. So he's basically explained to layman's terms for the audience here. Everything on shot are quite well guided. As an assistant, I also don't feel there was anything different than the Ghibli way of animating when they were working at on Batman. But yeah, obviously, when they say assistant animator, they usually mean in betweener. And then he said, as you can see, there's a nice blend between Western and Japanese animation in the final product. Also, there are many animators who often switch between Ghibli and Telecom. So I think that was him kind of being like, there might be some Telecom people around, but it's hard to tell because they're always jumping between studio back and forth. Yeah, I mean, if there was any allegations, they probably won't come out until his passing, probably. I can't say what I know. I cannot publicly say anything. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I probably have bugged some Ghibli staff, social media people on the Western side, but obviously that they're not connected to the studio. I think in the past I have bothered them about stuff, but obviously there's not much they can say to me. Well, look, I mean, a lot of studios have dirty laundry, and I'm sure, I don't know if most of it will come out, but Ghibli is no different. How do I know? I cannot disclose. In my experience making these videos, I talk to a lot of people, let's put it that way, and some of them are in the industry to some degree, or some are connected to people in the industry. So, I hear things, or I'm told things. Sorry, what were we? I'm losing myself a bit. Where do we get up to? Yeah, closest in animation. Miyazaki. Oh, okay, so this is still them talking. And also, Miyazaki worked at Telecom for Sherlock Hound, and most of the staff at Telecom during the Batman series. Yeah, so saying that people at Telecom were still some of the people that Miyazaki worked with all those years ago. Yeah, like Tamanaga and stuff, and Tanaka. And I think this is me just mentioning. Yeah, Telecom had worked alongside Studio Ghibli on about 9 different productions at the time, probably more now. Princess Mononoke was a famously rough production for many. Did you experience that? Because he came in, I think, towards the end. As for Princess Mononoke, I joined the studio in January 1997. The staff already worked on the movie for about a year and a half at that time, and it wasn't even half completed, so there was a bunch of crunch at the end of the production, where at the end there was a marathon, and we had to sprint by working every day. Not sure about Sundays was bad. Usually Sundays were, I think they had to work Sundays as well, yeah. 12 hours a day. I was very fresh, and I didn't suffer so much through that, though, and the reward was a big bonus and huge financial success of the movie, and a company trip to Nagasaki. Yeah, so they lost their Sundays at some point, I remember hearing. Kenichi Yoshida was the animation director on Part 2 and 3 of World's Finest. He was a Ghibli staffer who... Oh, okay, so that's just me doing some of the notes. I think that was actually... Was that the end? Oh, no, there was a couple of little bits there. You were credited for Spriggan. So Ghibli did some in-betweens on Spriggan. Is this because Tanaka, the founder of 4C... This is me getting autistic now. I am autistic, sorry. This is me, like, I was like, this is, all right, I'm going to ask all the stupid questions I want to hear about, that only I would care about. Tanaka, the founder of 4C, has connections to Ghibli. She used to work at Ghibli basically during the earlier period, is what I'm trying to get to. It's a very distinct style. Was that a struggle? Actually, all the animation studios in Japan have a standard production pipeline. So he's kind of explaining how like the Genga and the in-betweens work here. So they can send each other animation folders containing Genga and X sheets, and many assistants any student would be able to work on it. So basically saying, yeah, it's a consistent pipeline. So you can effectively, if you want, if you have work that you can't finish, some other student can come and finish it, and then you send it to somebody. It's kind of like a, I take some, you take some kind of system. So yeah, and he was mentioning here all the stuff he worked on. So Spriggan, Jinro, Evangelion, the end of Evangelion even, Detective Conan. As I was an assistant animator, not an animator, it wasn't much of a struggle. David also went to the what's it called? Go. He went to one of the famous French animation schools, so he wasn't a slouch or anything. Anyway, yeah, I will not disclose anything I know. Let's put it that way, okay? But yeah, going back to it, yeah. So I think I had it open, but I wonder if I still have it around. Might be my history, maybe. It's not that one, is it? No. Yeah, so at some point during End of Ava, I'm pretty sure Ghibli was on in-betweens on that one. There's some bits in the production diary where they're talking about it. In terms of, how do I say, they were talking about helping out, basically. So the video department, photography department, I think might have done something as well, but the video, in terms of, sometimes video is concerned of Doga video. So the in-between department basically was doing in-betweens on End of Ava to try and make it sort of hit deadline, basically. And at the same time, there's a funny little part in the diary where Takahata is basically talking to people in the studio about watching Evangelion. I think I did a drawing about ages ago because I thought it was like one of the funniest images I could possibly think of is someone like Takahata sitting down and discussing like the sort of theories and craft and like sequences within Evangelion. So there's some funny things in there, and it seems to give the conclusion of I think he watched basically all of it. This is the implication I'm getting. He at least watched most of it, because this was during the rebroadcast, basically. But anyway, yeah, so they worked on a lot of little bits and pieces, and I think I bring up in the video version, Card Captor Sakura. They did some stuff on that. I think it's an episode, I think it was just an episode, but yeah, they did some stuff on that one. I assumed it might have been something to do with, around that time, I think they helped on one of the movies, but also Madhouse helped out on Spirited Away, so I think it's kind of tit for tat, you know. Ghibli was helping out with them on their productions with Sakura and the movie plus the show, so then Madhouse helped out on Spirited Away, and they also got I assume it would probably be them who got Dr. Movie involved because it's like their partner. But yeah, there's lots of little cute stories. And I think I did ask him about how it was to work at Ghibli as a whole, and it sounds like he had a nice little yeah. So he went to Gobelins, however you ever say that, Goblin Ball. So yeah, he said, it was clearly the best learning experience of my whole professional life, especially after studying animation at Gobelins the classical way, you know, meaning like Disney mostly, like sort of like full animation, American Western style. And working at Disney Company in Paris, I therefore assumed Japan used a very similar production pipeline and work organization. Oh gosh, there was a shock I had. I learned faster and better in 3 months than I did in what it took years in France. So if you can say one thing about Ghibli is they do sort of keep you they give you a good strong foundation, and they teach you quick. I guess actions teach faster than a lot of things if you work that way. What is the most memorable moment at the studio or working in Japan in general? Being trained under the supervision of Kondo. Once a week with homework tasks, having Kenichi as my assigned mentor, both of them obviously animators. Kondo was, at some point going to be the successor of Miyazaki, but he died tragically I think he died tragically while David was there. It wouldn't have been too long from this period. I also occasionally, Yasuo Otsuka. Yasuo Otsuka, he came into the studio a couple times to teach the Ghibli staff, like gave them some lessons as well, which I didn't know at the time, but that's pretty cool. And I think I was explaining, Kondo, he was animation supervisor in the Ghibli. Well, he was supervisor and supervisor. He was animation director and supervisor, but yeah, he used to teach and train staff with Otani, basically. It was those two. So they do like little things like here. So this is those cuts there in front of him. They're from Whisper of the Heart, but they're not actually from Whisper of the Heart. So this is after Whisper of the Heart came out. So he's teaching the staff using Whisper of the Heart characters, basically, teaching them how to do like certain kind of cuts. And yeah, and this is Encinas back from one of the documentaries. So there's a couple clips of him when he joins. That's in one of the longer Princess Mononoke things. That's him with his mentor there. And yeah, there's some clips of people probably seen it on YouTube. Like he does these clips here, but I didn't know he did them in Ghibli as well. I thought these were just like general things, but he give like these little lessons like this, and he'd be showing like how he does stuff. They're fun to watch. They're a fun little watch. You probably find them around, these little like Otsuka like little classes basically. Yeah, and there's the final one. There you go. That is wait a minute. Okay, oops. You know what? I think we're done with, I think that's it. I think that might be, I'm back. Wow. There might be some other stuff, but that's the main, I think that was the main thrust of everything. I don't remember if I had anything else to, because I think that was like the last bit I did. I mean, I made the video. I'm not going to fucking react to the video. That's too much fucking work. I'm gonna. It's, a lot of the stuff in the video is very similar to the stuff in the thread, so I think I expanded some bits and pieces there as I've talked about. But as these things went, it's kind of interesting to see how different audiences react to things. Because when I released the video on YouTube, I didn't get, I think I got one. So there's probably like 300 plus comments, and I think I got one, and that's not even during the time period, like way later on. And I think it was actually deleted about like this whole thing. Like I got one person trying to accuse me of saying something, and it looks like they were literally copying and pasting something someone had said on Twitter. So I don't even know what was going on there. But I like none of those people ended up making it that far, and no one was really. I suppose the video was pretty well sourced at that point. Like I had a lot of different things to mention. So like it wasn't exactly like I was coming in and just making accusations. I had like an interview with someone who worked on it, so I had first hand things. I had second hand with like the production diary, and you know I had just some everything else I'd sort of brought up beforehand. So yeah, Twitter. I mean, even back, I guess it's a little novel to think about that. I think that was after the takeover. Because usually beforehand, I'd never really had much problem on Twitter. I think that's the first time I had like a situation which had kind of went like that way. So it was a bit like, oh, okay, what the fuck's going on here? Because you know, I was just trying to enjoy myself, talk about a nice bit of history there, and they had to just send thousands of people come. Well, I won't say thousands. It's probably like but it already was like 100 people coming at me, being like, "You're lying." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Where the fuck are you getting this from?" Yeah, and like I said, you sometimes some of them just copy and paste the same thing. Like they'll hear someone else say it, and then they just copy and paste it. And it's like it's interesting how like a brigade works that way, where like it's literally like people haven't done any googling. They just like saw someone on Twitter that they know or vaguely know say something, and they just like say the same thing. And it's like, I don't know if that's a particularly good way of living your life. But looking for excuse, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, things didn't end well with Kondo, unfortunately. I think that was around. I think when I was talking to David, he said that was around the time he might have left, if I remember right. I think that was when we were just chatting afterwards. I think he might have stayed a bit longer. But yeah, it's obviously a bit of a shock for the studio, a bit of a down tempo for everyone involved. It's quite, you know, no one was expecting that to happen. I think I know the one you're talking about. I think they've had like Production IG on there, right? And they've had Trigger. But yeah, like a lot of those shows. I suppose what was interesting about I think it's called How Mononoke Was Made. I don't know. It never got an English release, but it's like a 3-hour documentary about the making of Prince Mononoke. It's quite stark in that like it is not like the most positive or friendly version of the events. Like it probably is nicer than it could be, but it doesn't necessarily paint around how awkward it was at times and how difficult it could be in certain parts of the production being a real mess. And even I'm pretty sure it mentions the crunch as well. It's quite an interesting one that way. But most of the stuff you're going to see on Ghibli tends to be fairly soft. I mean, it kind of comes to the territory that like pretty much all the media about Ghibli is done by one place, which is Nippon TV. Like Nippon TV has owned the rights for that, so like Nippon TV, and now they own Ghibli. So I guess yeah, it's been that way forever. But like the media circus of like documentary stuff, it's all kind of been them outside of that one time NHK. I think NHK did a couple things once. So just like a few NHK things, and then everything else is just like Nippon TV. So like they have a club, they're basically a conglomerate. So they like pretty much control the image of Ghibli 100%. Even the stuff that's like a little bit ugly, like they show it in a very particular way, like it's for their own narrative building, I'm sure. Oh god, have we been going? You know what? I can't believe that like all I had to do to make the stream more consistent, because I'm seeing it now. It's still green. It's green bars the whole way. All I had to do was turn off my laptop. I guess it was doing some internet shit in the background. I didn't even think it could do that, but yeah, I can't believe it was that simple. But oh, fucking yeah, this. Like I said, soon enough, in a couple of weeks' time, I think the internet in this place should be getting improved. So hopefully I won't have issues like that in the future. Because now I think it likes if you've got like two devices going at times in certain areas in the house, like it just shits the bed. So I digress. Um, doesn't Explosion with the one guy that did the designs for Final Fantasy? Are we talking about Canada or are we talking about Amano? I'm assuming we're talking about Canada. Because Canada did do some stuff in Final Fantasy. Because after Princess Mononoke, Canada pretty much just goes to Hawaii. He moves sometime from 97, I think 98, 99. He moves to Hawaii basically, and he stays there for a good long time. And he spends most of the rest of his time working at Square Enix, and he does like key animation. He does some openings. He does like keys and boards and stuff. And sometimes he'll like draw stuff out for the 3D animators to use as reference. Sometimes he's drawing 2D things. But yeah, that's pretty much what he did for the foreseeable future. He was just, I guess, what Canada was pretty much. I think until like his passing, I think the last thing he was doing was working on 13. I don't know if I'm going to describe to you how animation is different from novels. I think that's maybe self-explanatory. I don't think it's. I don't know. I think the differences are going to depend on what kind of style of things you're doing as well. But I think some of it's pretty obvious. Did Ghibli always have the support of Nippon TV since Totoro? They got a deal, I think, maybe a year after Totoro came out to broadcast Totoro on television, because very famously, like Totoro didn't do particularly well in the theater, mainly because it was a double showing with Grave of the Fireflies of all fucking things. So and you had to watch Grave of the Fireflies first. So like it's like you have to get through that before you could even watch Totoro. So as far as I understand, what happens is a year or so later, maybe I think it was 89, it might be 90. Ghibli makes a contract with Nippon TV, and through however that was happenstance, and they basically say like they have the TV rights, I guess, for most of their movies going forward. I think that's how it kind of works. But Totoro is a particularly special one because Totoro happens to be like shown on, as far as I understand at least, from my recollection, Totoro is shown like every year on Nippon, like every year, like around the same time. They show it every year, and it's gotten really good ratings the whole time. And eventually, obviously, Totoro becomes their mascot, does a lot of merchandise, does really well on television, kind of builds it builds very well off like home release, very very well. So that's kind of where the relationship, as far as I understand it, starts with like Totoro and the success of Totoro, and from there, like every time the TV rights for a Princess Mononoke, like a Ghibli feature, it goes to Nippon Television. So like a year after the film comes out of the cinema, it usually goes onto the television, and they've done that and that and that and that. And then what happened from there is at some point, maybe around like 92, I want to say 91 or 92, they start making these like these documentaries, and I think they're all Nippon TV adjacent things, like like the making of like Only Yesterday, the making of Prince of Mononoke, the making of etc etc. Like they have these little like promos, Spirited Away. I assume Whisper of the Heart got one. I can't remember. Maybe Yamada's as well. Like those showings tend to all go on those little like previews before the thing come out, usually on Nippon. And that's their relationship has kind of been that way. I think at points Nippon TV has been like on the production committee as well. I think they put money into some of these. But yeah, their relationship has been like so ironclad, I guess, that like yeah, they bought the fucking studio. So like as soon as they were unsure of the future, Nippon TV was instantly there like, about to buy myself a studio. Ooh, this is looking good for us. We're good now. We're gonna make them do some TV anime for us. Yeah, I've seen people talking about Lazarus in the chat. Yeah, I've heard that the action choreography is done by one of the John Wick people. Obviously, I don't think they're animating anything, but I think they're doing like choreography or some involvement, some action choreography, maybe something like that. Probably they're gonna board out or act out the sequences and then give that as reference to the studio or something. One of the two, something like that. I'm sure. Something like that. I'm not sure what the bird picture is in response to. Oh, what? Do you know about the reason for the bad publicity of the last year? Um, I thought it was pretty obvious. I mentioned in a video, but like in the Japanese side, the production method or the publication method or publicity method for how do you live or Boy and the Heron was zero press. So they did no press. They released one image, which was not even the full bird image, and that was it. So the idea was that they were going to kind of like create a sort of word of mouth hype, which did work in the first week of the production. I think the issue is that, at least in Japan, Miyazaki hasn't released anything in about a decade, and a lot of other shit's getting made. So the box office for How Do You Live wasn't particularly impressive at the time. And maybe this no media approach kind of failed there. I mean, they kind of like, as soon as it came out, they kind of went back on that and they started trying to push it a bit more. But in retrospect, maybe it worked the long method because most of the European countries and Western countries, they ignored that whole like no press. They're like, that's stupid. Not gonna do that. Obviously not. We have limited releases. We need people to know about them. But obviously, I think the ethos or like the pathos of like the sort of mystique of like, oh, no press, oh no one heard anything about this before. This mysterious film. I wonder what it's about. I feel like some of that helped sort of hit the narrative, but then most of them probably saw a trailer at some point first as well, so maybe they didn't even hear about that stuff. But it did very well internationally. Like, what it kind of shows, I guess, is that maybe the Ghibli staying power for not releasing anything for 10 years has kind of like dwindled. They've sort of like lost a little bit of their strength in Japan, but they've gained a lot internationally. Like, it was the best international box office for any Ghibli film by a long way. So what came out is like a fairly, I think it was like 75 million, or I guess it'd be 7 billion, 8 billion yen, right? That's where it was, I think, towards the first year in showing, which is not very good for Ghibli. It's fine. It's a decent amount and stuff, but it was not. I think it's gone up a bit since then because it's had several things obviously change in terms of like it had a pretty good international showing in all these different countries. The American box office, I think, is the third best of all time in terms of anime. And then you have like European. It did really well in Europe. Usually does Ghibli films usually do very well in France, and I think it did particularly good there. It did really really well in South Korea. It had a showing in China, I think, as well, which also did really well. And it built up basically. It built up, and that money works out. I think it's now the third best performing Ghibli movie of all time, but not off of Japan, which is a surprise, I suppose. But I think after it won the Oscar, it had like another release in Japan, so I think it has built a bit more up. It might be close to like 9 billion now or something. I haven't checked in a while. Yeah, my neighbor and Grave, they were played together originally. It was as part of a deal, basically. Grave was the one that got financed, and technically Grave isn't a Ghib. Oh, well, okay, this is when we get into the technicalities here. It's not technically Ghibli in the most blunt sense because it was like commissioned. So the publisher commissioned Ghibli to make the film. So it wasn't something that Ghibli pitched themselves. But I think for them to take the project on, they said we want to make Totoro as well. So then they got funding to make Totoro as long as they did Grave, which is why it was a double showing. Which one of the strangest choices of a double showing I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. But it all worked out in the end. Um, Georgia, yeah, yeah, I know about the Marvel and Madhouse relationship because I made videos about it like 7 years ago. Well, very small ones. During I think what I called. Oh, was it actually? Maybe it was about Toei, was it? Because Toei and Marvel had a relationship. Yeah, Toei and Marvel had a relationship. I mean, I think later on that might have broke down, and then sometime in the mid 2000s, wasn't it, that Marvel and Madhouse started kindling a relationship. Um, because they did a couple of things like Blade and Wolverine or something towards like 2009. I mean, I don't think these deals are particularly crazy, but yeah, I think Toei and Marvel have a particularly longer standing relationship, including that Toei originally they did okay, so it's a little longer. Marvel had some connection to Transformers back in the 80s, right? So Marvel writers had some connection in the blueprints of making the Transformers franchise. So you had Hasbro, you had Marvel, a couple of Marvel writers, you had some people in Japan. So there's this like weird mix of people coming together. And I believe the first two seasons and the movie of Transformers, those were animated by Toei. So Toei, Marvel, Hasbro, there's a connection tissue there, which also may come from their connection prior, where they did a couple of the Marvel comics, including the horror range. So they did Dracula and Frankenstein, and those ended up getting like TV or like small movies in the early 80s. And then they worked on Transformers. So there's like this through line of connection between them. And the Toei connection, I think, lasts for quite a while. But I think at some point, Marvel and Madhouse made some sort of relationship in the late 2000s. So yeah, anyway, I've been going for quite a while now. Thank you everyone for joining. Probably the easiest for everyone if you want to see more streams, I probably will try and keep up a schedule of maybe once a week again, maybe more if I want to get this thing monetized, I suppose. Um, Let me have a look at the thing. But yeah, subscribe. I will probably post about it in the community tab. Maybe I'll try and keep a consistent day if I can. But I honestly don't know. We'll see, I suppose. But I think we're past the prime at this point. But I'm glad everyone showed. Well, thank you for showing up. I didn't know if I'd get people to transfer from one account to the other, but I think this stream will stay up. I used to unlist them, but now this channel doesn't really do much else. So I'm gonna just make it the stream channel. So I'll keep the archive up. If people want to watch the rest of the archive, and I will probably come back maybe next week. Maybe I'll have a guest on. I'll see if someone's interested. But I might do another thread. I have a couple other like I will recite. I can recite a couple of the old threads I've done. I have a couple of them on Twitter that did particularly well. I have another one for Redline, which I made a video on, but I made a thread on it a while back, probably sometime this year, probably like 6 months ago, which did also really well. But that time I was like prepared for people to try and call out bullshit, so I had all my sources on the ready, and I was like, I had my finger on the gun, I wasn't fucking around. I was like, none of you are saying nothing this time. But yeah, thank you very much for showing up. And like I said, if you subscribe, I need to get that subscriber count up. I need it to like 1,000 before I can even get this fucking channel monetized. Watch the video, subscribe to the channel on here, because I will try and keep a good schedule up, and I'll have more structures in the future in terms of streams. I'll probably go for some Twitter threads, but I've also came to the conclusion that maybe I'll do some I see other people do research threads, like research streams, and I'm always researching something for a video. So like I might do some stuff with like in the coming weeks I might do an Angel's Egg research one, because I basically, before I did the stream today, I've been researching and looking through Japanese interviews of Angel's Egg all day. I've been looking through an interview in particular by it's Oshi and Amano, and they did an interview in I think '86 from Anmek, I think it's called. But I was looking through it, and I've been cracking through it and looking through bits and pieces of it to see what's up, what they said. And there's some interesting stuff in there. They talk a bit about Kobayashi doing layouts and stuff, and other little bits and pieces. I'm taking out little bullet points, and so I've been slowly, methodically going through it and checking through the interview and checking the wording and the phrasing and the grammar and stuff, and be like, okay, does this make sense? Check a little, you know, you know. Usually, if I'm going to quote them, I'll get a proper translator in, but usually I'll look through them, look for a machine translation, double check it in terms of like going through it piece by piece and checking the thing and see if I can get like the gist. That's usually my plan there, is to sort of go through it, check if that makes sense, check the grammar, check the thing, check the wording, check it, and make sure it actually the machine translation is relatively correct. To be fair, I appreciate Lupin. I've got somebody on my side who is helping me with translations currently. I need to actually DM them about a video translation thing for the Angel Tech one, because I have a particular clip of something salacious that uh, Suzuki and Oshi were talking about a while ago, something silly, for the end of that Angel Tech video. But I was also going to send them, if I had any bits where I'm like, I want to quote this in the video, or if I need like a proper translation of it, I just sent it to them so far. I sent them something for the Dallas video, which has been translated, which I will probably also have to thread on Twitter at some point, because I need that information to be that information needs to be public. Some really good quotes in there, and if I find anything else, because I still. Now I've went for that magazine, I still have 2 books to look through, because I bought 2 Japanese Oshi books that I need to have a skim through to see if there's anything interesting in. I have one that apparently has some sources at the end of the book on the pitching of Angel Tag. I have another book, which is, again, Suzuki and Oshi working together. It's an archive of old interviews they've done together. So there should be some Angel Tag stuff in there. There should be some innocent stuff in there, and there might be something in between I can see. Anyway. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week. I have not set down a day yet. Maybe we'll do Tuesday next week. I used to do this at the weekend. I used to do Sundays. Maybe I'll move it to Saturday. Could be a Saturday thing. We'll see. Saturday or Wednesday is probably the days I'm going to probably pick out. So, anyway. Thank you